Venezuela, who had won 17 during the regular season, when 6 1/3 innings, struck out a half a dozen and did his job to help the Dodgers win Game 1. Tonight, it's 21-game winner Joaquin Andujar against 19-game winner Oral Hershiser. Game 2 on the line. NBC Sports presents the 1985 National League Championship Series. Tonight from Dodger Stadium, the St. Louis Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. Brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Miller Beer. Miller made the American way since 1855. By Sony Super Beta, the VCR that gives you a picture 20% sharper than VHS. And by IBM typewriters. No matter how you look at typing, we're your type. A beautiful time of day in Southern California, and welcome to Dodger Stadium. Game 2 of the National League Championship Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully. Along with Joe Garagiola, the Dodgers suddenly find themselves one up and a 19-game winner who doesn't lose here on the mound.
And pride, I think, is the big thing. The Dodgers, of course, they showed their fans why they are where they are. And the Cardinals, they came here with a great reputation of a lot of speed, good defense. And last night, the Dodgers just took both of them away. The Dodgers really did the Cardinals game of running, and defensively, we even had a man-bite-dog story when Ozzie Smith made that play.
You know, you talk about statistics going into the series, the Dodgers with the power and the Cardinals with the lack of power. Maybe part of the Dodger running game was an indication that they are not expecting any power from Pedro Guerrero.
That could be, and it's also a message, the Cardinals from the Dodgers, you're not going to run us out of the ballpark, and if you're not careful, we'll run you out of the ballpark. So if the Cardinals do get on, I do look for them to run. The Dodgers are not known for speed. I mean, Madlock and Guerrero stealing bases and Maldonado bunting. I've seen times on the different runners, like Vince Coleman, 7.1 seconds from home to second base. I don't think I've ever seen a time on Maldonado or Madlock.
No, unless they use a calendar.
Yeah.
In looking at the pitching, John Tudor lost last night. He was the best of the staff. Andujar is a 20-game winner, the first to win 20 in the National League. But his last 9 starts very, very shaky. Meanwhile, Oral Hershiser has won 19. He's undefeated in Dodger Stadium, and his last 8 starts have been brilliant. Quite a contrast.
And Fernando set the pace. Get ahead of those hitters, then you can throw breaking balls, and Coleman and McGee you can really neutralize with breaking balls.
Well, we'll find out all about it right on the other side of this.
Fire us out. Wreck the place like the rest of the block. This guy's been in our family for 70 years, so we said, go ahead, build your building. But build it around us.
There's still a place where some things are not for sale, where beer is beer and the brand is Miller.
Miller's made the American way.
Miller contains no additives or preservatives. Purity you can see, quality you can taste.
Miller's made the American way.
Have you from St. Louis? And that kid on the mound in New York. And that youngster like myself in Houston. From all of us in the family of baseball to all you families who cheered for us, thank you for sharing a great season.
Major League Baseball, a family tradition. Share it all.
Hi, I'm Mike Sosha of the Dodgers. And a lot of people have been making saying a lot about the first 2 hitters in the Cardinals, Coleman and McGee. And it's true, they're probably the catalyst for the Cardinals. But there's a lot more to the Cardinals team than just those 2 guys. And if we get those 2 guys out, it makes it a lot easier. But there's 7 guys in that lineup who will run, and you sandwich them around Jack Clark, and you've got a tough lineup. So we can't just worry about keeping Coleman and McGee off the bases and think that we'll win. We've got to control the whole Cardinals lineup, and that's why they're in the playoffs, because they have a great offensive club.
There is a defense for the Dodgers. Guerrero Landro will be in center field tonight. Marshall is in right field. Madlock, Duncan Sachs, Brock in the infield, Sosha and Hershiser, the battery. And the 2 men to key on with Hershiser pitching, I think, will be Duncan at shortstop, and Sachs at second base, because they are loaded with left-hand hitters. The Cardinals are, so the ground balls will be going to either one of those two fellas. If Hershiser has his good stuff, you'll see a couple of things. A lot of ground balls and some broken bats.
Well, we'll also take a good look at Oral Hershiser as he'll be pitching to Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, and Tommy Herr. All of Hershiser's 3 defeats came on the road, and they all came within a 1-month span. June 8th at Atlanta, the 26th of June at San Diego, and July 7th in St. Louis. Interestingly, last night, John Tudor's only loss since May came against the Dodgers. Right, 0-1. In the middle of July, when the Dodgers and Cardinals met in a 4-game series here at Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers managed to win 3 out of 4. One reason, they struck out Vince Coleman 7 times. There's a line drive base hit. So where they struck him out once last night and McGee 3 times, he now gets the base hit, and now we're going to find out what it's all about.
That we are. As far as the move, Hershiser, he has a good move, but when he delivers the ball, it's a big arm drop in the back, and his go to first base may give him a little bit of time. I got to believe he's going. It's just a matter of first or second pitch, man, and let's see what Socia will do.
One thing Hershiser will do, hold the ball a long time, longer than usual. What he hopes to do, not so much with Coleman as with McGee. Some runners have a tendency, if the pitcher sets and holds the ball, the runner has a tendency to almost sink and drop and come down off the balls of his feet. And that was very close.
He'll also change the tempo. Throw there quick, not as quick, that kind of tempo. He's got a good lead.
110 stolen bases, and Hershiser's off the rubber. Earlier this year, David Palmer of Montreal threw over to first base, actual count 13 times. And then when he finally pitched, Coleman stole second, and then for good measure, he stole third. And he gets back and just does.
He had intentions of going, and we kind of watched yesterday. Joe Morgan, who did a great job on the pregame show, talked about how Coleman, when he takes that lead, lifts that front foot. He kind of twitched in there. The ball got there, but it was not really what you'd call an accurate throw, but you're lucky when you get it that close.
We were mentioning yesterday, and you can see the advantage, or disadvantage, however, the advantage of having a left-handed first baseman as opposed to a right-handed first baseman. With a left-hander, you can throw to the glove. You're throwing right into the runner. But both Brock and Cabell are right-handed, which means they have to bring the glove to the runner. And boy, when you're talking about millimeters over there at first base, that means a great deal.
You can see what a guy does like Coleman when he gets on. They have not even worried about McGee. And he's going to try to keep him close, try to pick him off, but at least hold him close so he can't get that good jump.
And he bluffs. And the pitch is strike. I was going to ask you something. Hershiser is basically a sinker ball pitcher. Now, if Socia tries to cheat and come up out of the crouch too early, he's in danger of having a sinker ball get away.
And maybe tip the bat. Socia has done something that's helped him. He waits for that ball. He catches it close to his body, doesn't reach out for it. Be careful now.
0-1.
We go along and try to explain a little bit what I mean by that is if you reach out for the ball and get it, then you got to bring it back to you, and you lose that split second. It's the difference.
He's already thrown over to first base 5 times, and he's made one pitch to the plate, and it's getting closer all the time, it would seem. Brock unable to hold on to it.
But it's also his best move. He's diving back now and just does miss him under the tag. McSherry right on top of that play. That was his best move. Coleman knows he's got him measured. So, I mean, the trap has been set. Coleman's got his starting blocks up, and the battle is on, and we're still into the first hitter.
1 strike on Willie McGee. You know, in comparing during 1985, the Cardinals stole 17 out of 23 attempts against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers had a better ratio. They stole 12 out of 14 against the Cardinals.
McGee is a perfect second-place hitter. He is just watching it like the rest of us are, not really getting out of kilter.
0-1. Socia cheating off the bag. He was ready to throw. He was hanging off the corner.
He pitched out, and he started to go, and Coleman must have seen the tempo. Now that the guts comes in, will he double pitch out? Because you'd almost bet the house that he's going to go on this one. Now, he starts to go here, and he's going, and now something happened. The tempo sometimes, he says pitch out, warning sign.
1 ball, 1 strike. Boy, that was close.
If I was Socia, I'd be looking at that bench, and he may have gotten a sign to pitch out again because Coleman has really been working over there. He wants to go. The Cardinals want to show the Dodgers that, hey, you did our game last night. We're going to do our own game.
Coleman was the kid who was a punter at Florida A&M, averaged over 41 yards. He grew up in Jacksonville with football players like Harold Carmichael, Kenny Burrow, Derek Gaffney, and his cousin Greg Coleman. When the Redskins wanted him to return punts, he decided to go to baseball. 1-1. And there he goes. Pitch is outside, and the throw got him.
And Duncan may have gotten tagged.
He did. Duncan is spiked. Timeout.
It was a straight-in slide, and Socia really had something on that throw. Watch that front foot. There it is, lifted up, just like Morgan said, straight up. He's got the head down now, not in the sprinter's run. A straight-in slide. Throw is there in plenty of time. And there you see it's the left leg against Duncan's left leg. That throw was on the shortstop side of the bag, but he had enough on it. Watch Socia get that ball and really gun it here. That's as hard as he can throw the ball. He put something on it.
And that left leg is chopped up pretty well by the left leg of Vince Coleman. And he is obviously in pain and is now surrounded by his teammates. And, of course, as we take another look at the eyes of Vince Coleman. You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Really and truly? Your constant complaint. The catcher gets hit by a foul ball, and the umpires...
right.
Here's a guy lying down in blood out there, and we're looking at Coleman for the 18th time.
That's right. That's right. Coleman, the straight-in slide.
Meanwhile,
And the spike
Duncan's
is right
in the
there.
emergency ward.
Yeah, there he's kind of stepping all over him right there as they tangle. Socia really made a hard throw. It was not that accurate a throw, and I thought when I saw the ball going to the shortstop side he wouldn't get him, but the throw was hard enough. He had enough on it. Got him.
Now we got another tough Dominican.
Oh, yeah. Another tough guy. All of them.
Well, Duncan is going to play. It'll be interesting to see as we look at Vince Coleman down in the dugout along with Ivan De Jesus and others. Be interesting whether Duncan's range has been cut down. So 1 out and the count 2 balls and 1 strike to Willie McGee.
Well, you would have bet he was going to go after the pitch out. Socia went after him and really made a good throw.
Fouled away, 2-2. So in other words, Hershiser made 8 pitches to first base and then came to the plate 6 times.
That's the first time that Socia's been able to get Coleman. Coleman lists the tough catchers as far as getting him, and you'd be surprised at that list, Vin.
2-2, and off speed for ball 3. You don't get Coleman that much, but he was caught 25 times in the regular season.
He says Pena's the toughest, Terry Kennedy, Jody Davis, Yeager, and listen to this one, Razor Shines.
3-2. Ground ball to the left, and Duncan kicks it. Recovers, forget all about it. So Mariano Duncan, unable to handle that hot potato.
Batting third, number 28, second baseman.
Last night we had pointed out the fact that the Cardinals had committed the fewest number of errors and the Dodgers the most. And yet it was the Cardinal error that turned out to be the killer. Now let's see about Duncan's inability to handle that ground ball, and he draws an error.
Let's see with McGee on now. Socia's going to have maybe another chance here, and this can answer a lot of questions because Coleman was gunned out. Now McGee is on, and Her is a good disciplined hitter.
And McGee, remember, stole 56 during the regular season. Ball 1, 1-0. I think people are still wondering and waiting for you to drop the other shoe about Razor Shine.
Well, he got him in the minor leagues when he was trying for his 100th, because when he said Razor shines, I said, the guy at Montreal, he says, yeah, Razor got me and got me easily.
1 ball and no strikes to count. Tommy Herr, the batter, 1 away. McGee at first. Then we'll keep an eye again, just like Hershiser, on a man who has stolen 56. He stole 4 times successfully, stealing third. 1-0. McGee goes, pitch out. Socia to Sachs. He is really hung out to dry. To Brock. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Joe Amalfitano calls the pitch out, and you can see that coming. And they have answered the question, both Coleman and McGee getting on and being gunned down. And Willie knows that he's in no man. He's watching to see like it's a hit and run play. Didn't have his head down like Coleman. And now here he is in no man's land, and forget about it.
Boy, he did the best to slither back to the bag. So with 2 out on 2 attempted steals, that's enough to get your attention at the outset. And for Whitey Herzog, it has to come as somewhat of a shock. And the count to Tommy Herr, 2-0. Fouled away. 2-1.
Much like Roger Craig over at Detroit last year, we look at Socia, who's given the Dodgers a big lift. Joey Amalfitano is the one who calls the signs, the pitch-out signs over here, and with Coleman on, Socia called for a pitch-out, didn't go, and then got him on a good pitch to handle. This was a straight pitch-out.
2-1 to count. Ball 3. If you joined us late, Coleman singled to center and was thrown out. Socia to Duncan, who was spiked but stayed in the game. McGee aboard on Duncan's error, and then Lasorda saw McGee on a pitch out cut down from Socia to Sachs to Brock. A drive into left center, and it is a tweener and goes to the wall. Guerrero plays the hop back in, and Tommy Herr doubles, and it shows you how important those first 2 outs were. And it also sums up what Socia was saying. Yeah, it's one thing to keep Coleman and McGee off the base paths, but don't let down, and here they come. A double by Herr, and Jack Clark, the batter.
Hershiser, with that good sinker, has to get the ground ball. He got the ground ball from McGee. This one was pretty well hit.
Tommy Herr, it should be pointed out, hit about .333 against Hershiser during the regular year. Jack Clark, on the other hand, was 0 for 8 going head-to-head with Hershiser. No strikes. Hershiser, fastball, breaking ball. He also throws that split-fingered fastball as a changeup. Once in a while, he'll fall in love with his breaking ball, and they have to go out and remind him to throw the fastball more. 1-1. That's the strike. Bruce Fleming is the plate umpire. John McSherry at first. Terry Tata at second. Paul Runge at third. Jerry Crawford on the foul line in left. Dick Stello on the foul line in right.
He also has that up-and-in fastball, and in talking to him before the game today, he was talking about watching Valenzuela last night, how he almost knocked the bats out of their hands by going up and in, as if to say you're not going to hit it out the ballpark. Now, it's a different story with Jack Clark, who is a good fastball hitter. I don't care how hard or how fast you throw it. If he's looking for it, he'll get a good cut at it.
1-1, the count to Jack Clark. 2 down, first inning, just the start of things. Tom Herr at second, and a meeting now.
Well, they got Herr at second base. You're going to make sure he's not flashing any signs, or it could be that Mike has given the signs a bit too soon. Now, he's got a choice here. First base is open, but the man coming up is Van Slyke, a left-hand batter, so it's the option that Hershiser has. You would think he'd pitch to Clark to where he'd show him the fastball and not give him a fastball to hit and make sure it's the breaking ball.
1-1, the count to Jack Clark, trying to pick up Tommy Herr. 2 out in the first inning, no score. Little bird dogging by Sachs to make Tommy Herr retreat. Of course, Sachs is almost behind second base, so it's pretty easy for him to bluff to the bag and cut down the runner, and at the same time not leave his position. 1-1. Ball 2. 2-1. Hershiser, in his final 8 starts of the regular year, his earned run average was less than 1.5. And he was 11-0 here at Dodger Stadium in the dirt. And immediately Fleming will throw it out and put a new one in. We mentioned that last night. It's one of the things about Dodger Stadium. If the ball is in the dirt, the umpire will throw it out.
It's that red clay mark on there, and when it comes up, it looks like a barber pole. Pitchers would love to keep it in the game.
3-1 the count to Jack Clark. Fastball. 3-2. Clark, among other things, with all of his power, commands tremendous amount of respect, so he gets a lot of walks during the regular year.
There was a case of that pitch just not being exactly where he wanted, and that's the way you hit when it's 3-1. Make sure it's your pitch.
3-2. 2 down first inning, no score. Tommy Hurd second. Fastball, got him. Boy, what an inning. 2 men thrown out, and Hershiser strikes out Clark. And at the end of half an inning, Cardinals nothing, Dodgers coming up. Here's the way the Dodgers stack up offensively. Mariano Duncan nicked at second, but he'll lead off at short. Kenny Landreau returns to the starting role in center field, and Bill Madlock at third. Pedro Guerrero heavily taped in left field, and Mike Marshall around in right. Mike Scioscia, who has been so visible in the first inning behind the plate. Greg Brock, who handled all those pickoff throws to first. Steve Sachs at second, and the pitcher, Orel Hershiser.
Defensively, it's Coleman, McGee, and Van Slyke, 3 guys who played center field coming to the major league, so they'll cover a lot of ground. In the infield is Pendleton, Smith, Hurd, Clark, the battery, Andujar, and Porter. And Porter will have to be thrown out some people or get the opportunity. And the key guy on that Cardinal ball club as far as the infield, Ozzie Smith. Last night, a ball, it was ruled a double, and we thought it was an error. I tell you, I never saw so much hoopla on one ball, but then again, when you get paid to field like he does, then the spotlight is going to be a little bit brighter. So if there's anything near him, he's going to be grabbing it tonight.
Great line to remember. Good is not good where better is expected, and that applied to Ozzie Smith last night, and that's why it was such a shock. Mariano Duncan facing Joaquin Andujar. Now, he won 3 games. He won 2 games in the World Series of '82. He won 20 games each of the last 2 years. In his 21 victories this year, the Cardinals averaged 7 runs a game. He won by scores of 14-4, 14-0, 11-10. He had himself quite a year. Right.
Psychologically, Vin, it's an opportune time for Duncan to bunt. The Cardinals, I'm sure, even out in the field right now, are thinking, can you believe that? Coleman and McGee both getting thrown out.
Strike 1 pitch. They shorten up the corners, and that's going to be hit just beyond the Cardinal dugout. 0-2. Duncan, with his speed and with the infield in motion, has 3 bunt doubles this year. But Clark now, with 2 strikes, has gone back, and Pendleton, who is playing on a bad left leg, he had a cyst removed and was almost a doubtful starter, but he made it at third. It didn't appear to be that close, but this is twilight time, and it's tough to see.
And it's also the reputation. Andujar has that reputation, rightly so or not. That's a good pitch, high and tight, nothing wrong with it. And one of the things they say that Andujar's having trouble is that the hitters don't fear him anymore. That if you got too close, he'd move you back, and he started to do that tonight.
You know, he was the first man in the majors to reach 20 victories on the 23rd of August, but he only won 1 of his last 9 starts. So he really wants to turn things around tonight. 2-2. He was 2-0 against the Dodgers, and lifetime 6-10. Ground ball to Pendleton. 1 away, and the big thing was to watch Duncan run, and he appeared to be okay. After being nicked by the spikes of Vince Coleman, it looked like Duncan was all right.
Here you get a good look at it. He tries to go to the opposite field. In fact, it looked like he thought he had a base hit. Now he sees Pendleton come up with it, and he kind of lets out. He watched the play pretty much himself. May have lost a little bit of speed, but I don't think he would have beaten it out anyhow.
So that question might be answered. Duncan is okay. 1 out, and here's Kenny Landreau. Hit foul down the line, out of play. Landreau, a pinch hitter last night, slide to center.
Just a note on Andahar. Not much finesse with Joaquin. I mean, he is a hard thrower. It's a three-quarter delivery. He'll sidearm you both with his fastball and his curve. And you just simply call him a power pitcher who challenges the hitters.
0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. With all of his glistening credentials, in a sense, you just wonder whether Andahar, if he does not pitch well tonight, considering the fact he has struggled in his last 9 starts, whether he would get a second shot or not, or whether use Bob Force. 2-1.
Well, I almost have to believe he would, Vin, only because Whitey says whoever took me to the dance is going to get me to the prom. I mean, that's his philosophy, and Andahar's one of the guys that took him to the dance.
2-1. Missed with the fastball, ball 3. 3-1. He has walked as many as 6 in a game. He's done that twice. His high in strikeouts, 6. And probably his best game. He went 11 innings against San Diego in July. Cardinals won the game 2-1 in the 12th. 3-2. That hit Landreau on the foot.
Andahar never wears a sweatshirt. I mean, it's ideal here for him, but I remember in Montreal when we were up there, everybody's coming out with jackets and heavy sweatshirts, not Joaquin.
And, of course, the temperature here in Los Angeles was in the 80s today. It is a beautiful evening. In contrast, Landreau almost always wears a long-sleeve shirt. Strike 3, punched him out on the corner.
Batting third, number 52.
So 2 out in the first inning, and the batter, Bill Madlock.
Porter moved out there, and he really hit the spot. You could see him just kind of shift out there and frame that pitch.
Bill Madlock went 1 for 4 last night. Big chopper foul outside and down the line. We'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
This is KTVV, TV 36 in Austin.
Madlock had a stolen base last night. What makes it interesting is he has stolen 8 bases since he came to the Dodgers. That's foul. But here's the point. He has stolen 8 bases since he put on a Dodger uniform in his last 3 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He stole 9.
Boy, I had a long talk with him about that stolen base, and it boiled down to Lasorda simply told him we're going to have to do something, get it going.
Mean pitch as Andahar came by way of third.
He said, Lasorda said that if you just go station to station with Tudor, you hit ground balls, and we can do that anyhow. So let's try to get them moving, break up the infield, run if you think you get a lead, and they did.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Bouncer back a third, foul ball to Terry Pendleton.
That was a good shot of that sidearm delivery. He does that with his fastball, and he does that with his curveball. When he drops that arm, he starts 3 quarters. We look at Sandy Koufax, Hall of Famer, and Rick Monday. Monday threw out the first pitch. Sandy could go in, put 32 across his back, and probably pitch a shutout.
Maybe so. 1-2 to Madlock. Check swing, a slow roller, foul outside of third. We told you Pendleton has a bad leg. He has had cysts pop up occasionally, and he had one lanced on his right leg, just on the other side of the right knee. In fact, when Whitey Herzog found out about it, he suddenly thought, well, I don't know whether he can start. He had to go back into the dressing room to make sure, wondering all the while, why did he have the cyst lanced today? So Whitey finally came out and said he's going to play, but for a while it was questionable. 1-2 to Madlock. 2 down, first inning, no score. Oh, good, mean sidearm breaking ball. That's why they call it public enemy number 1. And at the end of an inning, no score.
Ford Escort is the world's best-selling car. Nobody can seem to catch it. Escort outsells Nissan Sentra, Honda Civic, and Toyota Tercel by 2-1 or more. And with its more powerful engine, Escort could make the gap even wider. So while Ford Escort continues to be the world's best-selling car, The competition somehow seems to miss the boat.
Get 8.8 financing at your Ford dealer now.
I never got used to the idea of being a hero. There are no stars on a potato farm. I lived a simple life here. A really good life.
There's still a place where people don't forget where they came from. A place where beer is beer, and the brand is Miller.
Miller's made the American way.
Miller contains no additives or preservatives. Purity you can see, quality you can taste.
Miller's made the American way.
You've never heard of him.
Who are you?
Only the president and 3 others know he exists.
Stop!
We've got a problem, George. Some joker walks into one of my plants, and now you're telling me he doesn't exist?
The only weapons he needs are his mind and his body.
Who are you?
Now, there's a new name in high adventure. Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Rated PG-13. Opens Friday, October 11th at theaters everywhere.
Sunday Funky's a dancing fool.
I've got lots more rhythm than a tree stump.
Then on Silver Spoons, when Kate redecorates, will the guys take a powder? Sunday.
Beautiful time of day here in Southern California, and overhead, the Goodyear blimp Columbia. Pilot Captain John Creighton from Hermosa Beach. You know, a Goodyear blimp made its first postseason baseball appearance in the 1926 World Series. The St. Louis Cardinals versus the New York Yankees. This is its 60th consecutive year. Second inning, no score. And the Cardinals showing what they were intent on doing. Both Coleman and McGee trying to steal, each cut down. And despite a double by her, he was left. So now it's Andy Van Slyke, Terry Pendleton, and Darrell Porter. It will be interesting when we get down to Andujar's spot, because the Cardinals feature 5 switch hitters that we know of. It just depends on what Andujar decides to do. Will he go up there and hit left-handed, consequently exposing that valuable right arm where it would be in danger of being hit by a pitcher now?
You know one thing, the catchers give him a lot of room because that backswing of his, he's liable to clonk you.
1-0 to Andy. And he drives it to right and deep. Marshall a full turn to the track and makes the catch. Boy, that's a big league outfielder's play. Turn your back on home plate and come by and pick it off, especially at 6:07 local time.
You can see that he didn't have that ball until he took that second look at it. And when you can turn your back like he did, that's just sheer confidence. He knew he had room, but he had to find that ball. I tell you, it's not that easy, as you pointed out right about now, Ben. The lights are not that effective.
Oh, no. It's only a little past 6. Beautiful evening, not a cloud in the sky. And the lights not taking any effect. Ball 1 to Terry Pendleton. Pendleton went 3 for 9 against Hershiser. The kid from Fort Hueneme struggling a bit with the bat with a .240 average. 2-0. On deck, Darrell Porter. No strikes. It is interesting to look at the switch hitters, Coleman, McGee, Herr, Pendleton, and Ozzie Smith. They are all better, or at least more successful hitters as left-handed batters. Consequently, when you check, you see the Cardinals have been eating up right-handers. The Cardinals are better than 2-1 against right-hand pitching. Against left-handers, they're just a little bit above 500.
And they pick up a couple steps from Coleman and McGee, and with those two fellows, that means a lot. The ground ball hit left-handed, they can beat it out.
Hit into the fewest double plays in the league. And that takes care of Terry Pendleton. Strikeout number 2 for Oral Hershiser, whose high this year was 9.
And that's that overhand curveball that he throws. It's a good quick curveball. It's the kind when we were kids, you call it a drop. Now they got fancy terms for it, overhand curveball or cut fastball, backdoor sliders. Either can fire it or you can't, old Diz would say.
Well, here's Darrell Porter. He was on the DL twice this year, so he had only 3 at-bats against Hershiser, and he went 1 for 3. He had a broken big toe on his left foot and a broken index finger. But the interesting thing, if there is such a thing, about the broken index finger He suffered it while catching, but it was his left index finger, the finger in the glove or mitt, and he doesn't stick the finger out of the mitt. And Whitey Herzog was commenting, saying he had never heard of it before, how a catcher could break a finger inside the mitt. Well, here's proof positive, as they say in the ads. 2-0. 3-0 with Ozzie Smith on deck.
I'm trying to figure that out. As we look at Ozzie, he must have had the finger straight out. Why, I don't know, and the ball just hit him straight on, and that I can't understand.
3-0. And they let him swing, and he fouled it away. So Porter given the green light 3-0, and the count now 3-1. 2 down, top of the second, no score. Counting last night, in the 13 games they've played, 9 of the 13, the Dodger pitchers have held the Cardinals to 3 runs or less. So sooner or later, it boils down to pitching. One reason why the Dodgers managed to win 7 of the 12 regular season games. And here's Ozzie Smith. And he did well against Hershiser. He was 3 for 8 with a couple of RBIs against him. Darryl Porter was 6 out of 7 in stolen bases. We certainly don't expect him to go, but we do point it out. And he was 6 for 6 in stealing second. The only time Darryl Porter was caught, are you ready?
Yes.
Trying to steal home.
Home.
Must have been part of a, well, let's see.
Spring training game.
To be. That hit the bag, and it's going to be a base hit. Sachs will run it down, and Porter's on his way to third. So Ozzie Smith hits the bag for a base hit that might have cost a run. If it doesn't hit the bag and goes down the line, Porter might very well have scored.
And when it hits that bag, it almost jumps straight up. Watch this. There it goes. Really doesn't carry out that far. Sachs is able to get it. Get a good view of it right here. Something Smith doesn't do that often, pull the ball that much. And Sachs able to run it down. Porter gets the third. Marshall was coming over hard, but with 2 outs, they might have tried to score Porter. Joaquin's going to bat left-handed.
There you go. So there are 6 switch hitters, evidently. Of course, we don't have any proof that he's going to come back and hit right-handed next time against Hershiser. I always loved Herzog's line about Andujar. He said they pay him $1 million to pitch. They ought to pay me $1 million to manage him.
He's exciting, but Whitey says when you give him the ball, he wants to know when he's going to get it again, so he wants to play.
In there, strike 2. Andujar has 10 hits this year.
Watch him get that good curveball this time.
0-2. And with those 10 hits, we should point out he had 8 runs batted in. So he has Darryl Porter 90 feet away and Ozzie Smith at first. 2 out, no score, second inning. Strike 3 called. So the only major leaguer to strike out more than half of his career at-bats, Joaquin Andujar, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score.
These are
Looking at runner at first, and that's a
great picture because if he can't see the runner looking over his shoulder, that means that the runner's got too big a lead and you should back off. Now, obviously, he sees the runner because he starts into his delivery, got his eyes on that target. Now, watch the twist of that arm on this curveball. Here it comes. Look at that. You can really see the rotation, and all Andujar could do is just watch it float across and say, I couldn't hit that with 4 bats.
So it's a case of the Cardinals squandering some opportunities, and Orel Hershiser has worked his way out of a couple of jams as he sits with pitching coach Ron Perinoski, who was famous for working his way out of jams.
How many guys do you think would go to broadcast school if Hershiser throws that consistently?
There are a lot of them thinking about it. You know, Dale Murphy of the Atlanta Braves, who is certainly a premier player in the league, And Dale was quoted as saying that he thinks Hershiser might have the best stuff of any pitcher in the league. Pedro Guerrero, Mike Marshall, and Mike Socia in that order. Bottom of the second, no score. Let's see Guerrero's hands. Does he have that little bowling contraption on the left hand? Yep, there it is. So he's heavily taped and wrapped. Guerrero, the biggest thing about him last night, 2 stolen bases. Takes a strike. And a flare, a little bloop single to right.
Andujar, with all the tape that Guerrero's working and wearing and the gloves and all that, he said he's no hurt. He can hit it 10,000 miles if he gets his pitch.
0-1. He's only had 1 home run, however, since the day he injured that wrist. That's back on September the 7th. That was the one that tied him with Steve Garvey's mark of 33 home runs, and he really hasn't been heard from since. 1-1. What happens to him, among other things, in trying, since he can't throw the head of the bat at the ball with his wrist like he normally would, he tries to compensate by moving his body and becoming a sweep hitter. Well, that's okay if you're Ted Kluszewski, but it's not Guerrero's style.
He doesn't spin into it, and now he's really set up with that sidearm pitch, either sidearm fastball or sidearm curveball that Andujar throws so well.
And he chased that sidearm fastball. So that's 3 consecutive strikeouts for Joaquin Andujar, who has certainly come to play. And remember, his high this year is only 6.
It's not a strike, which makes it a doubly good pitch. Way out of the strike zone, Guerrero starts, and he can't stop. That's a tough pitch.
Now here is Mike Marshall, who is prone to chase just that pitch. Mike had a great year, and he had a tremendous September and October when they really needed him to pick up the slack for the fallen Guerrero. 0-1.
Mike's been taking extra batting practice. Again today, he was out there, and he's so intense. He really is a bear-down kind of guy. It was also interesting, Vin, to watch Andujar push Pendleton back.
0-1 the count to Mike. Strike 2. Every now and then you'll notice a gentleman directly behind the home plate. There he is. That's Mike Brito with the speed gun in his right hand. And he will indicate by fingers up to Al Campanis the velocity of the fastballs. 1-2.
Darrell Porter, that was a good shot to see how he was just checking his defense and then put down that big 4, which obviously is the sidearm curveball. Once Andujar gets these right-handers a little bit down with 2 strikes, he's not afraid to come sidearm. That arm is really loose. It's a good, strong arm.
1-2. Over the top, and it's fouled away. You know, for Joaquin Andujar, he had back-to-back years where he won 20. The first since Joe Niekro did it in 1979 and 80. And back-to-back 20-win years for a Cardinal? Who else? Bob Gibson, 69 and 70. 1-2. 1 out, second inning, no score. Sidearm him, and down he goes. And now we really got a string going.
He really bears down. He's looking right at Porter. He wants that sign. Now he knows what he's going to throw. Now he's looking to see where I'm going to throw it. And look at that determination. You don't think it's tough to keep that body in that batter's box? I mean, that front leg starts talking, let's go, man. This is no place for me to be, and you got to talk to that leg to stay here.
Roy Campanella called it the jelly leg, and you would certainly have a jelly leg at 620 against a guy throwing around the corner like Andujar. 1 ball and no strikes to Mike Socia. We mentioned last night that he came awfully close to being the first Dodger catcher to hit 300 since the great Roy Campanella did it 30 years ago. Big bouncer to Clark, and that will be that. 6 in a row retired by Joaquin Andujar. And at the end of 2 at sunset time, no score. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Sunset to you at 6:22 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. But we should also point out in the minutes of tonight's meeting that in 2 innings we have had 7 strikeouts. So it's a lovely time of day for almost anybody but a hitter. Andujar has struck out 4. Hershiser has struck out 3. And now it's second time around. Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, and Tommy Herr.
Madlock is really in tight at third base, trying to take the bunt away from Coleman.
Take the bunt. 1 ball and no strikes. Coleman, you remember, was aboard on a clean single to center and promptly thrown out. Then McGee was aboard on an error and thrown out, and then Tom Herr doubled. So the Cardinals had an opportunity to go down the drain. 1-0. The big bouncer right to Madlock, as if he were playing pepper with him. 1 down.
Center fielder, Willie McGee.
That'll bring up Willie McGee, the league's leading hitter, aboard on the error by Mariano Duncan.
It was really refreshing. Willie McGee had a tough night last night, and when they asked him, he said, hey, they played better than we did, and it was just a tough night. I'm proud to be here.
He's a champ in a lot of ways. 1 out in the third. Ball 1, 1-0. It was nice, too. McGee didn't forget. When he came up to the Cardinals, Ozzie Smith kind of adopted him and helped him along. And then this year, when Vince Coleman came up, McGee decided to adopt him and help him along. 1-1. Just to show you the magnitude of the man. Look at that. I mean, does that jump out at you? 1 ball, 1 strike. Line drive, base hit to left field. McGee holding at first, and he was never thinking about putting any pressure on Guerrero. He was just jogging to first. But now let's see. Remember, they pitched out and got him in a rundown that went from Socia to Sachs to Brock.
He's going to test him again. He's got to. If you're Socia, you've got to be looking for it. He'll be looking to Malfitano for some help. He's going to work his ball game.
McGee with 52 stolen bases of second and 4 of third. Hal Lanier apparently hollering something down from the third base coaching box. I think what happened was he put on a sign for Herr, and then he wasn't sure that Herr got the sign, and he hollered to him to back out.
Fleming got involved in it, too, for some reason.
So we'll watch McGee with 1 out, 3rd inning, no score, and so will Hershiser. We talked about Hershiser holding the ball a little longer on some of the runners. McGee is one of them. He might, and of course he will vary the time, but he would like to come set, hands together at the belt, and hold a little longer, hoping that McGee, who will be on the balls of his feet, will suddenly drop down and become almost flat-footed. And Willie has a tendency to do that once in a while. He has not taken his A1 lead, and Hershiser hasn't given him his big move yet.
It takes him a long time, Hershiser, to unload that throw to first base.
What he does is, and they call it long-arming the ball, he'll even do it when he fields a bunt. He'll take it and he'll bring that arm full extension. What the Dodgers want him to do is throw over there like a second baseman. Hurry it. Bend the elbow. Don't long-arm the throw. .314 stolen bases for this great Cardinal club. And the Dodgers somehow trying to quiet it. See how long he held the ball that time. 2-0 the count to Tommy Herr. So it's cat and mouse without a doubt. Now there's an interesting stat. And it puts a little pressure on the umpires too. The Cardinals have caused opposing pitchers to balk 28 times. That is far and away more balks, because they are the running team that they are.
The Dodgers have just lost the pitch out, so ideally, 2 balls, no strikes, 2-1. Time to run if they're going to want to put a play on.
2-0 to Tommy Herr. McGee does not go, and it's ball 3, and now Socia says, hold everything.
Socia very simply is saying, well, we've lost our concentration to the point now worrying about McGee that we're now 3-0 on the batter. That's the thing the base runner does.
And Tommy Herr, of course, doubled in the first inning. Herr this year is 4 for 10. And Lasorda knows full well that Tommy Herr has given Hershiser a bad time, and now he's in a hole 3-0.
He's been behind on 10 of the 12 batters.
3 balls, no strikes. And now he is really in trouble. 2 on with 1 out. And Jack Clark coming up, and Ron Perinoski going out to talk to him.
One of the things that Hershiser does, he gets too fine before he really has to, and it looked like with Tommy Herr, that's what he was trying to do, get too fine. And with this Cardinal ball club, you get the nits and gnats on these Lions and Tigers. The Clark said they're going to eat you up, and right now, as you point out so well, he's in trouble.
Jack Clark, who struck out in the first inning, and who is 0 for 9 against Hershiser, becomes a very, very hungry hitter at this stage.
He's got to be saying, if he throws me a fastball in his first pitch, I'm going to go to work on it. If it's near the strike zone, he's not going to be that particular. He wants to knock in some runs.
And it will be interesting to see if Perinoski has said to Hershiser, look, don't try to make the perfect pitch with McGee at second and Herr at first. Make a good pitch, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't fall behind on Clark. Cardinals threatening, 1 out in the third. And, of course, with McGee at second, among other things, you have to worry about double steal. Tommy Herr is no slouch. He's stolen 31 and only been caught 3 times. So we got rabbits out there. Two on, 1 out, third inning, no score. And that's a do move. Hershiser doesn't usually do that. He usually turns around first base way. That time he turned the other way, around third, clockwise.
They were practicing that on the off day, just as a kind of a refresher reminder course.
Well, that's on-the-job training because that's not his normal move. He missed with the fastball inside, tried to challenge him, but immediately now behind 1 ball and no strikes.
One of the age-old things always said is instead of trying to get the hitters out, make them try to hit you. And when you try to get them out instead of making them try to hit you, it's a whole different psychology, and it's trouble time.
1-0 to Clark. No score, third inning, 1 away. Willie McGee at second, Tommy Herr at first. Fastball in there. I think Clark was a little bit surprised to get one right there.
You can bet he was.
He had to be looking breaking ball with Tommy Herr at first, Willie McGee at second, 1 out, and both raring to go. Clark followed by Van Slyke and Pendleton. Fouled off, 1-2.
That's the pitch he wanted. It was inside part to play it. He had a pretty good cut at it. And with the foul ball, 1 ball, 2 strikes, Clark knows now that the hammer is in Hershiser's hands.
When you look back in the books, you see that the Cardinals won 101 games and hit less than 100 home runs. Last time that happened, it was a Cardinal team in 43. They have all kinds of ways to beat you. But here's the guy who can beat you with 1 swing, Jack Clark. The Socia telling Hershiser we're going to go over the signs again. One and 2. And there's the bluff. Sachs had never moved, so that was strictly Hershiser's part.
That little move you saw as we look at Sachs, that little move you saw of Socia rubbing across the chest protector many times is an indicator with the man on second base, although you doubt very seriously McGee is stealing signs, but Socia's not taking any chances. And it's a good idea because then you get that runner who will steal the signs. It's nothing new to the pitcher.
1 and 2 to Clark. In the dirt, and a good save by Socia. And Fleming will immediately put a new ball in play and throw that out.
Just it's a breaking ball, and Socia, he's like the team bus back there. He just gets in front of it.
He's taught well by Roy Campanella, huh?
Well, you practice that. I mean, as a grown man, you got to go down to the pits and have guys bounce balls off your chest all day. So you can go home and tell your kids, "What'd you do, Daddy?" "Oh, I let a man beat a ball off my chest all day."
Another day, another bowl of rice. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out on the third, no score. And the pitch to Clark. Big bouncer foul.
Man, while we got a chance here, that thing about rubbing across the protector, just very simply, if one was a fastball and I rubbed across my protector, it could switch the sign. If I didn't rub across it, it would stay the same. You'd make that up before the game. If I gave a series of signs, say 1 fastball, 2 curve, 3 change of pace, if I rubbed across, it would be the first sign you saw. If I didn't, it'd be the last sign you saw. It's very simple, but that's the indicator.
And sometimes you'd even use your mask instead of the chest protector.
Exactly. It's just you don't want to make it too tough for the pitcher because you don't want to hear him rattle when they shake it off. But it's the guy on second that scares you.
2-2. In the dirt, and that gets away. McGee is to third, rounding third, coming to the plate. The throw is not in time. Down to third goes Tommy Herr. And just like that, the Cardinals run their way to a 1-0 lead.
He broke immediately. It was a breaking ball. It really caromed off Socia, and watch where this ball hits. It hit off his right arm, and for a minute he couldn't find it. Now he's hustling all the way, but there's a lot of room back here. And McGee, of course, with that great speed, forget about it, it's not even close. Watch McGee. Now he knows right here. I mean, he's coming all the way.
So it's a 2-base wild pitch. Just after Socia had shown you how to handle 1 in the dirt, the second one got away, and it is 1-0 St. Louis in the third. The gift run. And now let's see what Clark does. The Dodger infield has to come up with a runner at third and 1 out. And he promptly hits a short hopper to Sachs. The runner holds the out at first. Steve had to dig that thing out of the dirt, and Tommy Herr had nowhere to go.
Right fielder, Andy Van Fleck.
Ball pretty well hit. Short hop, off to the side, looks the man back.
So with 2 down and Tommy Herr holding at third, here is Andy Van Slyke. And a gesture by Socia, very briefly but very quickly, look out bunt. Van Slyke flied to right, deep to Marshall in the second inning. 4-1.
They're liable to run off any base. They're liable to bunt any time. And it's a ball club that Jim Fry, the manager of the Cubs, says so well, every hitter comes up, they've got you on the edge of the seat. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
1 run, 4 hits for the Cardinals. Ball 2. If you're wondering about Tommy Herr at third, he has stolen home this year. He's 1 for 1 in stealing home, but you would never expect anybody to try to steal home with a left-hand hitter at the plate. Ball 3, and on deck, the switch-hitting Terry Pendleton.
And he's liable to take a shot at this one if it's to his liking.
He let Porter swing 3-0, remember. Certainly wasn't a pitch to drive. It was about at the knees, outside part of the plate. Lasorda muttering about wild pitch in the dugout. And it is 1-0 St. Louis. And that one is a check swing. 3-2. Socia is looking and questioning about that.
He's calling a strike.
Yep.
Watch this curveball. Now, once it hits the ground because of the spin, it'll break towards Socia. See how it breaks in towards the left shoulder? And that's what it's really a tough play. Now, you can see Fleming calling the strike immediately. That ball got away from him. he got over there and got a piece of it with his right shoulder, but it was so far out of the strike zone he really had no chance. He blocked that one nicely.
Whitey Herzog chewing on that tobacco plug with pitching coach Mike Rourke leaning over the rail. 1-0 Cardinals in the third. 3-2 to Andy Van Slyke, and there's the ball forward. So Hershiser is really struggling. The Cardinals have had men all over the limbs in each of the 3 innings, and they've gotten 1 home so far.
And with 2 outs, as Peranowski goes to the phone because of the trouble Hershiser's in, you can't take for granted with those 2 guys on base. They're going to wait to see what Pendleton's going to do. You got to be alive here for a possible attempted double steal.
8 of the Cardinals' first 14 batters have reached base. And here is Pendleton, who struck out in the second inning. 2 out in the inning, 1 run over, and the Cardinals leading 1-0. Ball 1, so he is really off. Down in the bullpen, Bobo Castillo and Carlos Diaz. Diaz, the left-hander. Hershiser is due to bat third when the Dodgers hit in the bottom of the third. He's battling to stay in the game. Even though he's only allowed 1 run, he is so far off form that he's in a lot of trouble of coming out. Tommy Herr at third, Van Slyke at first, and 2-0 the count to Pendleton.
Madlock's going to come in to talk to him just to break the mood, but that last pitch was an indication to me at least. Vin Scully almost caught that ball sideways. I mean, so he could try to borderline that strike to try to help him. I mean, sideways. He didn't have to face the glove up, nor did he have it down. It was sideways, and he caught it that way, hoping to maybe get that borderline strike.
That big heave and a sigh by Hershiser told a great deal. 2-0 to Terry Pendleton. High fly ball to left. Guerrero has a play. He's got it. Hershiser wobbly, staggers, and allows only 1 run. So he got out of it certainly cheaply enough. At the end of 2.5, the Cardinals 1, the Dodgers nothing.
Around here people seem to say it all without saying a word.
There are still places where you can shake a man's hand, buy him a Miller, and you've got yourself a deal.
Miller's made the American way, born and brewed in the USA, just as proud as the people who are drinking it today.
Miller Beer. Purity you can see, quality you can taste.
Miller's made the American way. You gotta find a home of your own. You gotta sell the one you've outgrown. You gotta transfer to places unknown. Well, all you gotta do is pick up the phone, put number 1 to work for you. People who get things done.
We find more first homes, move more people into bigger homes, and help more people on the move than any other real estate team.
Put number 1 to work for you. Century 21.
At 11:15, he was uptown, uptight, and longing for love. 6 hours later, he was downtown, desperate, and hiding in a statue.
Can you let me out of this thing now?
How he got there could only happen after hours. After hours.
Light it up.
Rated R. Now at select theaters, coming soon to additional locations.
Monday bloopers rise again with practical jokes on Yankee slugger Dave Winfield and Ned Beatty. Chuck Woolery hosts the Golden Blooper Award plus goofy commercials Monday.
Well, the scenario right now makes a lot of sense. You have the Cardinal speed, you have a sinker ball pitcher putting extra pressure on the catcher, and sooner or later it took the third inning for a wild pitch to be cashed in.
Well, that breaking ball is the one that he usually gets over, and when you don't get it over, it's the toughest ball to block because the spin is the opposite way. The curveball is from the right-hander spinning this way. If it hits the dirt, say right about here, it's going to hit you here, so it takes a little bit of guts to get over there and block it, and obviously Socha didn't get over far enough, but you got to blame that on Hershiser.
And the momentum change. At the start of the game, 2 Redbirds had their feathers plucked. You remember trying to steal. Now they get an advantage on their speed with the wild pitch, and they've taken a 1-0 lead. It is also getting darker now. It is 6:42 local time, so the lights have taken effect. That might also have a better effect on the hitters. Remember, we told you at the end of 2 innings, we had 7 strikeouts. But evening is slowly falling upon Los Angeles. Greg Brock to start it off. Ball one. Brock will be followed by Steve Sachs, then Oral Hershiser, a career high with the 21 home runs. No strikes. Brock with that career high of 21, and he hit against everyone except the Cardinals and the Giants.
It's a long inning for Andujar. You just wonder.
Andujar only allowed 15 home runs, in case you're thinking about that this year. Line drive, great catch by Tommy Herr.
He just does the job, not much fanfare, and about as excited as he gets when he blows the bubble. He gets it right in the webbing. Looks like an ice cream cone, doesn't it? And now that he's got it, he's like the kid. He lets the little boy in the body out and blows the bubble.
Fine play by Tommy Herr. One away, and the batter, Steve Sachs.
Isn't that better than watching a guy chew tobacco and spit?
Yeah. And now. Sachs, 2 hits in 3 at-bats last night. Ball one, 1-0.
Pendleton is shortened up at third. Sachs is a threat to bunt. Hasn't been doing much the games we did, but he can.
One thing you don't expect from Sachs is extra bases, even though he runs very well. About 10% of his hits are extra base hits. So both second basemen blowing gum. 1-1. Ground ball by the mound, back a second into center field.
Sachs really taking a good look at the Malfitano. He wants to know what Hershiser's going to be doing.
You know, last night, John Tudor retired the first 7, and then Sachs got a base hit. And the same story tonight. And here's Hershiser.
Well, he's indicated bunt. And you would think when you saw that 197 average jump up there, that's what he would be doing.
He has led the Dodger pitchers in sacrifices this year with 10. So he figures to bunt. And the throw gets away. Sachs is looking at Amalfitano, and they're going to wave him. And the throw to third, he is in there.
And Whitey Herzog has to be thinking, why? It's a bad throw. It's way away from Clark, as you can see, and Sachs picks up Amalfitano right there, and I mean, he makes a slide that it's not the kind you want to show to youngsters. Here's that slide, the body takes the bad hop. Look at here. Whoops. Keeps coming, and he was down for a while.
Now Hershiser is up there with the infield up and a runner at third, and you right away wonder about a squeeze. Remember, he's a good bunter. They're squeezing, and the butt is on the chalk and goes foul.
They're going to play safety squeeze with a guy like Sachs. And if that ball, it was almost a perfect bunt, I'll tell you. Look at here. Sachs sees the ball down. Here he comes. And Clark way back there. Look at that ball hug the line. Andujar wasn't about to let it roll in there. He hustled all the way off the mound.
Well, I tell you one thing, watching Lasorda all year, that was no surprise. And it is no surprise if he tries to squeeze again. 0-1 the count.
You think he'll do it back-to-back?
Oh, no, you know Hershiser hit almost 290 against the Cardinals. Clark is up. I doubt it.
I wouldn't think he'd do it here.
Yeah! And he fouled it off. So they're squeezing back-to-back. And the count 0-2.
Boy, Lasorda, you talk about throwing everything to the wind. I mean, he as much as saying, I don't care. Now, Clark wants to talk to Porter and find out what's running through his mind.
You have to remember, too, that on deck is Mariano Duncan, a switch hitter who does not hit that well left-handed. He's a .220 hitter as a left-handed batter.
You know, just for the sake of finding out something, to even break up the momentum right now, I would just pitch out. You got the luxury, 2 strikes and no balls, just to see what's going on and break up all this hype that's going on.
Sacks at third, 1 out. Third inning, 1-0 Cardinals. Andujar twice seeing Hershiser tries to squeeze in the run. Not this time. Full swing, base hit.
Particular setting right there, and the ball gets over Pendleton's head. He's got him crippled, 2 strikes, and he gets a ball he can handle. Pendleton is in tight. He can't come close, and he got way up there. And Andujar, watch his reaction.
I don't think the Cardinals were paying much attention if they didn't realize that Hershiser was hitting almost 290 against them this year, and to give him a pitch 0-2. So it's a 1-1 tie in the third.
Andujar didn't give himself a chance to throw the curveball or the sidearm curveball. If he throws the sidearm curveball, Hershiser does everything but take his shoes off.
1-1 with Duncan at the plate. And fouled the ball down on his foot. Remember, he got nicked on the knee the first play of the game.
If you've been with us from the first inning, think back of the sidearm curveball he threw Madlock, the sidearm curveball he threw Guerrero, and just wonder what would have happened had he done that to Hershiser. Here's the foul tip off his foot, and I tell you, he is really taking a beating tonight.
So Mariano Duncan with a bad right foot and a sore, maybe spiked left knee.
Then you just have to put it in the category of bad pitching.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. You put a column there and say bad pitching. If you lose this ball game 2-1, it's not a tough luck loss.
It's interesting. The Cardinals got a run on a 2-base wild pitch. The Dodgers got a run on a 2-base pickoff error and then a base hit by a pitcher 0-2. So the pitchers are their own worst enemy.
But it's one thing to make a wild pitch with McGee at second, but it's also another thing to make an error with your 8th-place hitter Sachs at first base and the pitcher coming up who wants to bunt him. What's he throwing over there for in the first place? Let him bunt.
So Duncan still trying to get some feeling back in the right foot, and here's where he took a lick on the left knee. Vince Coleman sliding in to get him. Clean slide. He went straight into the bag, but Duncan was right there. So first a bad left knee and now a sore right foot. Bruce Fleming kidding him and made him laugh.
I tell you, he's got a great sense of humor, that Fleming. You can see whatever he said, it broke the mood.
1-1 the count to Mariano. Of course, he is always being reminded about it, but his one little battle cry as a ball player is, you've got to play with enthusiasm. And he needs all the enthusiasm he can get right now. 1-1. He drives it right at McGee. 2 down. You know, on that first pitch, when Duncan fouled it off, Hershiser was breaking towards second. I'm not sure exactly what he had in mind, but Duncan fouled it off his foot. Now with 2 down, Landro the batter. with Jack Clark holding Hershiser, and that to me is a very, I don't know, I think it's a weak play if you're expecting Hershiser to steal. He does have one stolen base this year, but you're sure tying up the right side of the infield. Let's see how they pitch him. They pitch him away on the corner for a strike.
You got to break off the back sooner. Jack Clark is looking to the bench for instructions, and obviously they're telling him to hold him on. It's okay to hold him, but you can break sooner. He's got about a 6-inch lead.
And you can hold him on by not holding him on. By that, I mean, you don't have to be on the bag to hold him on. And that's hit the other way into left center, base hit. Chasing it is Coleman, and by the time he gets it, they're going to send Hershiser home. The throw by Ozzie, he scores.
Coleman cuts that ball off before it gets to the wall. Hershiser is running very hard. He gives it to the cutoff man, Ozzie, who fires it in, but keep in mind with 2 outs at the crack of the bat, Hershiser was off, and he was able to pick up 5 steps on that account, and he is really digging hard, and a superb athlete as far as condition, because he's not hesitating at all. You don't see the oil starting to leak or the wheels coming off. He's still strong.
It probably sums up another reason why Clark held him on the bag. The fact that they were trying to pitch Landreau away, not let him pull, but they got burned by it. Remember, the first pitch was a fastball on the outside corner, and then the second pitch, he hits up the alley in left center. So now Madlock trying to pick up Landreau. 2-1 Dodgers. If you care, discounting the pickoff error, both runs are earned. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 4 hits for the Cardinals. Ooh, burn your knuckles with that one. 1 ball and 1 strike. Joaquin Andujar, 21-12, but in his 12 defeats, 5 of those 12 defeats, the Cardinals were shut out. Breaking ball hit into left. They're going to send Landreau. Here comes Coleman's throw. Good throw, but he scores. Madlock to second. 3-1 Dodgers.
A short hop throw. He had something on it, but it was a tough throw for Porter to handle right here. He's in good position. He's got something on it, but it's a short hopper. And Porter had to go on, and Coleman, of course, he's disgusted and a little bit disappointed himself, the short hop throw. Mike Rourke is coming out to talk to him, to Andujar, and settle him down as we look at Herzog.
Now remember, in the inning, the first batter was Greg Brock, and he was robbed of a hit by Tommy Hers. So you had a base hit taken away, and now 3 singles and a double.
Ben, there's an old baseball expression that applies in this particular case.
Ricky Horton.
As we look at Ricky Horton, Mr. Ricky used to always say if they pitched as hard to stay out of trouble as when they are in trouble, they'd never be in trouble. And that's about it here.
The Oral Hershiser with a brief visit with Bob Welch. 1 minute he's down 1-0. Now he's leading 3-1. And with 2 out, Pedro Guerrero. And this place going wild as Madlock stands at second.
And Hershiser was staggering. Now we'll see when he comes out with the lead what happens.
High breaking ball. 1-0. Hershiser isn't sitting down. You'd expect him to be using every second to stay off his feet.
Adrenaline is pumping now, man. He's going.
1-0 to Guerrero. Hard breaking ball low. So he's been up and down, and he's behind 2-0. Andujar is due to bat third when the Cardinals hit in the 4th inning, so he's on thin ice. Now they're going to walk Guerrero intentionally. That for Andujar will be the first walk he has allowed. And Whitey Herzog would rather set up and out with the free-swinging Mike Marshall.
And again, Whitey Herzog indicated that even though Guerrero has the bad wrist, he fears him just a little bit more than most people do, because Marshall, healthy, is a free swinger, a hacker. He'll get his swings.
Mike struck out in the 2nd inning. 2 on, 2 out, and 3 in. Dodgers 3, Cardinals 1. Andujar struggling to stay in the game. Fastball, and it's missed. It wasn't fouled, and the runners move up 90 feet. Darrell Porter just missed it. Boy, that's a tough break for the Cardinals.
Here it is. 3/4 looks like a fastball, and it was sailing in, and it just hit off the heel of the glove. It looked like he was just completely fooled by it, like he didn't see it. Even he boxed that one up. Mike Marshall, in talking about tough pitchers to hit, Andujar ranks 1, and then Gooden and Sid Fernandez of the Mets are his 3 toughest pitchers to hit.
The pass ball charged to Darrell Porter, and Dodgers at 2nd and 3rd with 2 out. 3-1 Dodgers. That, of course, erases the strategical effect of the intentional walk to Guerrero. It takes away a force play. In there, on the corner, strike 2.
Cardinals have had everything in this inning except the block kick.
Well, you had the line drive catch by her. You had the pickoff throw when Andujar threw it between Sack's legs. There was no way that Clark could get it. And then Hershiser twice tries to squeeze and then singles in a run, 0-2. Breaking ball is lifted to right. Van Slyke has the play. And that's the inning, but it's a 3-run inning for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 very big inning. And at the end of 3, the Dodgers 3 and the Cardinals 1.
When the going gets rough, you need a tough 4x4 like this, the 86 Ford Ranger STX. This year, only Ranger offers this new electric shifting system. You just punch a button at any speed and shift from 2-wheel to ground-grabbing 4-wheel drive. And talk about power. Ranger's new 2.9-liter V6 has the most horses of any small truck. The tough 86 Ford Ranger 4x4.
Get 8.8 financing on 86 Ford Ranger now.
Teamwork, people working together. That's what it takes to achieve a difficult goal. For the people at Manville, the goal is this: to be America's very best supplier of quality products. Simple? Yes. Easy? No. Achievable? Well, the 21,000 people of Manville think so, and they're working together so you'll have the products you need when and where you need them. Yes, Manville is 21,000 people with one goal: to make Manville America's very best supplier.
Wake up, fool. You got to think about what you're having for breakfast. I suggest a croissant sandwich from Burger King. That light, moist croissant filled with eggs. Sounds yummy. Melted cheese. You can almost taste that ham, bacon, or sausage. Come on, man, get it. That flaky croissant sandwich. Hey, 1 leg at a time, fool. Aren't you hungry? Good. Now go back to sleep. It's only 4 o'clock in the morning.
The hot, flaky breakfast croissant sandwich at Burger King.
Wednesday on St. Elsewhere.
Stephen Craig, Mark's son.
Where is he?
Just hold on, Stephen.
St. Elsewhere.
Clear.
Unforgettable. Wednesday.
A magnificent evening here in Los Angeles. We had an 80-degree day, and it has just settled into a lovely summer's evening despite the time of year in October. But it was an October moment right now.
Yeah, when the pumpkins are out and you wear funny faces. Andujar, the pitcher. Now, Hershiser got the big key hit. Now, he missed the bunt attempt, the squeeze bunt, to squeeze it home. And that's a two-strike pitch that he hits. And the thing that's frustrating is, why does the ball even that close to where a pitcher can get a bat on it? Because when you get 2 strikes on the pitcher, it's just, unless he's an exceptional hitter, right-handed or right-hander, you throw him that big breaking curveball.
Well, here's Darrell Porter, one hopper right at Sachs. Now, that's a little bit of a surprise, too, considering Hershiser made such a long trip around the base paths. And we were talking about whether he'd be a little wobbly. And Darrell just went up and hacked immediately. Wouldn't even, maybe even bunt on him, make him move around, do something.
Well, of course, he staggered when he left, Hershiser did, but then you come up with a 3-run, 3-1 lead, and, you know, it's the side trip to Lourdes. It's a miracle now. I feel fine, and everything is great.
I was a little surprised last night because that had been mentioned about Fernando having the ankle, that they didn't bunt, but now Ozzie tried. Now, I would certainly try to bunt a couple of times to see whether Hershiser would get rubber-legged or not. It is 3-1 Dodgers, top of the 4th inning. Ozzie Smith with Joaquin Andujar on deck.
If nothing else, the bunt pulls the infield in and it gets people moving. It breaks up the defense.
Remember, Ozzie got a base hit when his ground ball hit the bag, but it was a tough break. If the ball doesn't hit the bag, it's down in the corner, and Porter would have scored. As it was, he got to third and stayed there. 1-2.
What does it mean to bunt? Go back to Hershiser's play. They don't play in that tight Pendleton unless he had tried the squeeze bunt and fouled it off twice. Now he comes in a couple steps because they suspect that even with 2 strikes, he bounces it over the head. That was one of those artificial surface hits, but it was a hit.
1-2 to Ozzie, the man who strikes out about once every 22 at-bats. In fact, he's never struck out more than 49 times in an entire season. So when you get 2 strikes on him, your job isn't even close to being done. So it'll be an interesting battle here. 1-2. 2-2.
You talk about striking out. I get that Hall of Fame newsletter, and Joey Sewell's going to be, I think, 87. I think he struck out twice one season. One season.
What a different game. Breaking ball is going to be hit up the middle, and Duncan short hops, throws too late. You can't get Ozzie hitting left-handed on that play, but it was an excellent try by Mariano Duncan, and evidently, despite the bad foot and the bad knee, he was able to cover the ground and get there.
Well, he's one of the 2 fellas we expected to put on his show tonight because of Hershiser's pitching, and he had just about got Ozzie. But as you mentioned, Vin, you just don't get him left-handed. And it goes the same for Coleman and McGee from the left side. They pick up that step or 2, and it's just enough to make the difference. Look at him stretch out. He's got himself a base hit.
Remember we told you he's unpredictable? Look at Andujar. He's now going to bunt right-handed. His first at-bat, he was swinging left-handed.
No, he was taking left-handed.
He struck out.
He took it all the way.
He took it left-handed. Why do you blame left-handed? Ozzie Smith at first. Top of the 4th inning, 3-1 Dodgers. The incredible Joaquin man. That's Andujar. I guess he's a better bunter right-handed. Foul. 0-2. Ozzie Smith has stolen 31 bases this year. 25 out of 30 going to second, and 5 out of 6 going to third. He's been caught trying to steal home once, so they got some wheels over there.
And last night, he stole a base with 2 outs. He gets a single in left field, and you figure, well, he's going to stay there and let the pitcher bat? No way.
No balls and 2 strikes to Joaquin Andujar. We said the Cardinals have 6 switch hitters in the starting lineup, but we didn't know one of them would switch during the game against the same pitcher. Here he is. And he bunts in the air. They're going to let it fall. They want to get Ozzie Smith off the bases. Now they throw to first and double up Andujar. The incredible Joaquin man.
Hershiser made that play.
At the end of 3.5, 3-1 Dodgers.
There are lots of new things going on in healthcare. And this new healthcare can be good if there's someone who really cares for you. That's why nearly 80 million people carry the Blue Cross and Blue Shield card. But this message isn't for those who do. It's for those who don't.
Mr. Secretary, are you saying no further cuts can be made?
That is correct, Senator.
I see here enormous expenditures on mousetrap.
Our boys deserve an expensive beer, sir.
My committee informs me it's not expensive, just tastes expensive.
Actually, that's under my assistant, Mr. Macklin.
Well, what's he doing with the money he's supposed to spend on beer?
Oh, Mac, it's a darling little boat.
Rich, smooth Meisterbrow. It only tastes expensive.
This year, 1 out of every 6 cars will need to have its brakes repaired. That's why at Midas, we offer a free brake inspection. If your car needs work, you know it's being done by experts. 500,000 people a year have their brakes fixed at Midas, and we're glad to have the business. But more important, we appreciate the trust.
Trust the Midas touch.
Hershiser on the last pitch throws it across the seam, high and in fastball. Endahar pops it up. Now watch Hershiser take charge, and he gets a lot of help. Socha starts saying second base, second base. He about throws it away, and it's an easy double play. Now you wonder what happened to Endahar. There's nothing he can do. Here's another replay of it. Watch what happens. It's high and in, and down he goes. It was actually a knockdown pitch that he bunts, a high and in. And he's sitting on the ground watching the play just like us.
Well, now let's see. He is caught looking for strike 3, hitting left-handed. He is flattened and bunts into a double play, hitting right-handed. What other worlds are there left for him?
And I'll tell you something. He is steaming right now. You could fry 3 eggs right on that forehead. He is upset.
And Socha will be the first man to find out about it. And he bunts. And it'll be Porter falling down. Boy, was that a thinking man's play by Socha.
Sir. Yes, sir. I can't say enough about it. He knew, he felt, everybody knows that Endahar is upset, so he's just going to put a little more gas on the fire. He bunts the ball, and Endahar's going to make the play, and Porter runs him off. Down he goes, and he can't do anything but just flip it over there. And now Endahar, you know he's just seething. And I know if I was catching, I'd be out there talking to him right now because he is just upset. He's trying to fight it back, but he's human. He doesn't run on batteries. Look at those eyes.
Somebody better go out there and smooth the feathers of that bird.
Oh.
Yeah, he's about ready to come apart.
Call room service. Get somebody there.
Greg Brock will be the batter, followed by Steve Sachs. But a great psychological ploy by Socha, and it paid off. Now let's see what happens with Brock. Remember, he was robbed of a hit by Tommy Herr in that wild 3rd inning. And he's up there hacking.
Endahar's got to feel that I have to do it myself. I mean, I'm just going to do it myself. You can almost see it in his eyes. Because everything that could possibly happen to the guy has happened. I mean, everything.
That average of Brock, very consistent. He's hit exactly the same at home as on the road. 0-1. Ball and 1 strike. Cardinals got a run in the 3rd. McGee singled, Herr walked, and a wild pitch scored McGee from second base. And then the Dodgers came back with an even wilder 3, and there's a drive to right, away back and gone. Call for Brock. Sachs, who has no sense of theater, stayed in the batter's box and took a strike. He would not be your critic for the American theatrical scene. 0-2.
Remember, he lives in the wonderful world of
Steve Sachs.
With Mr. Rogers, and he's in his neighborhood.
Well, Greg Brock takes Andujar deep, and it is 5-1 Dodgers here in the 4th inning. Look out.
We're liable to have something happen now. Now we're liable to have something.
And still no one has gone to talk to Andujar. I don't understand it.
I was going to say, like he's just an outcast. Now, Fleming is right in doing what he's doing. He's going to stop it. Andujar has been upset, and you can see, if you can read lips, what he just said. He is really seething, and somebody ought to go out there and just talk to him. I mean, they're battling to go to the World Series, and it's like, well, okay.
They should have gone out immediately after Socha's bunt single.
No question about it.
And Sachs was trying to lay a little angry on that one.
Now, it's a 2-strike count with this pitch.
And that's Adam, boy.
Right, high and tight. That was a message pitch, no doubt about it. You can see Sachs, and he's going to be overmatched if he starts out there, and all he could do is stare. You see it hit the bat. I thought it hit him at first, but...
Dave Anderson coming over to talk to Sachs. That's Mike Marshall sitting on Sachs' left. And the batter is Oral Hershiser. By the way, just to give you an idea what it's like life in the big league, that 0-2 knockdown pitch was a fastball that was clocked at 91 miles an hour. And he bunts. And it'll be Pendleton. And make the play. Boy, are they trying to do everything but pin a tail on Andujar psychologically. And the Cardinals haven't done anything really to try and hold him together.
Even with making it out, and Duncan will take plenty of time. He's not even on the on-deck circle, as they're going to give Hershiser a chance to get back to the dugout. Even with the out, it's enough to keep Andujar rattled, which is what you're trying to do.
You know, I wonder, too, and of course we don't see that much of Joaquin Andujar. He could be a pitcher who hates to have people come to the mound. And maybe during the course of the year that he won 21 in his 2 magnificent years back-to-back, maybe the Cardinals have gotten into the habit of leaving him alone.
Well, not in that spot. I can't buy that at all.
Well, I'm just giving you a thought.
No, I'm just saying.
In fact, I'm trying to give them help.
There you saw that 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and you can see Sachs staring him down. It was high and tight. In a spot like that, Vin, it's not just trying to win friends and influence people. You're just trying to break the mood is all you're trying to do. As I say, with Hershiser up there with 2 strikes, I'd have pitched out to break the mood, anything, because you could feel it building, and they just let it build.
Here's Duncan 0 for 2. Grounded to third, fly to center.
And a baseball is a game of emotions, too, oddly enough. And it's not just physical. I mean, it's an emotional kind of thing. You have to get involved. If you're going to play this like you're playing for a keg of beer, forget about it.
0-2 the count. When the Cardinals come up in the 5th inning, they have Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, and Tommy Herr. And Brock still relishing a 2-run home run as he talks to Bob Baylor. That's Len Matuzik on his left. One thing for Hershiser, if he reflects on the first 4 innings, he knows the Cardinals are far from being out of it. They have had men on base in every inning. He has not retired the side in order. They've touched him for 5 hits and 1 run. That will take care of Mariano. That's a half a dozen strikeouts for Joaquin Andujar, but small consolation. 5-1 Dodgers. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Wednesday on Helltown.
He's a criminal.
I would never hurt nobody. Robert Blake hits the streets to save his friend.
Jump, Stumpy!
Will a desperate gamble lead to tragedy? Wednesday.
There's a new name in ultra-small cars. A name that stands for fun.
Available exclusively from McDonald's, each at a special price with any food purchase. McDonald's Fast Max. 4 sporty models for your children. A different car each week. Pull a Fast Mac back once, it hugs the straightaway. More than once, it turns, it spins, it pops wheelies. Get your hands on the true spirit of ultra small cars. Fast Max. Then give it to your children.
Oktoberfest at H-E-B means fresh pork on sale, including Boston butt pork roast, ideal for dinner, sandwiches, snacks. A money saver at 89 cents a pound. And October means crisp, delicious apples. So good, so sure to please every member of your family. Choose Red Delicious or Golden Delicious at H-E-B Fresh Fruit Special at 59 cents the 3-pound bag. And be sure to pick up volumes 13 and 14 of the Disney Fun to Learn Library at your neighborhood H-E-B.
Hurry! Furrow Building Materials grand opening of its 2 newly remodeled stores ends Saturday. Save now on this 52-inch hugger ceiling fan with 4 cane blades, just $59.99. This better-built pre-hung storm door with self-storing panel now just $36.88. And now's your last chance to register for the Something Special to Europe sweepstakes. Winners fly American Airlines to Cologne, Germany, and stay at the beautiful Dome Hotel. Come celebrate now. Saturday's the last day for grand opening savings at Furrow.
Don't do it yourself without us.
Furrow.
Jeopardy! Weekdays at 5 on 36.
Game 2 of the 1985 National League Championship Series is brought to you by your Firestone retailers, coast to coast. Come on, America, drive over to Firestone. And by your Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan, who remind you to carry the caring card. Joaquin Andujar went into the dugout and sat down. He had a long-distance few words with a teammate in the far left. No one came near him. Finally, Tommy Herr walked over and said something in passing, but the point being, no one came over to console, to stroke, or to do anything to change that psychological mood. They just leave him alone. And the count to Vince Coleman is a strike, 0-1. Coleman has singled and grounded to third. 1 for 2. Caught stealing in the first inning. 0-2.
The thing is so difficult because you and I both know in the clubhouse, he's the guy they're all agitating. He's the guy that they're fooling with, and he's the guy that they're playing the practical jokes on. And yet in the spot when it looks like, hey, I need a friend, like, nobody.
0-2. Little ground ball, heat on Duncan to get Coleman. Got him.
Duncan makes a good play because he knows he's got the speedy Coleman, and he got something on that throw and just does get him. Good play. And Coleman is really letting out. That ball's not hit that hard. He knows he's got a chance for a base hit. Gets down the line in good shape.
1 away in the top of the 5th inning, and Willie McGee aboard on an error. Single to left, a big chopper to the right of Sachs. He stays with it, throws him out.
In direct contrast now, the Dodgers, they're bunting and moving around, and here is Hershiser, who really staggered, and 3 pitches, 2 outs, and the catalyst of the team.
Tommy Herr will be the batter, and Herr is taking his time before coming up to the plate, like a leadoff man, perhaps, trying to give Andujar a few more moments rest in the dugout. Herr, a heady ball player, doubled, walked, and no doubt thinking about that. On deck, Jack Clark. 5-1 Dodgers, top of the 5th. Right. The series will move to the beautiful city of St. Louis. Tomorrow is a travel day, and the Dodgers and Cardinals will roll all over Busch Stadium Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The American League game 3 is tomorrow night, as Bruce Brumming is hit by that pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Whitey Herzog and Red Schoendienst. Schoendienst, his coach, managed the Cardinals longer than anyone. And now Herzog is the skipper. And they saluted one of the greatest Cardinals of all a few minutes ago when we were in commercial. On Diamond Vision in left field, a huge picture of the one and only Stan the Man Musial. We showed you the fact he had led the league 7 times. Incredible hitter. Big chopper to Brock, and he'll do it himself, and it's a very easy inning for Oral Hershiser. And at the end of 4.5 innings, the Dodgers 5 and the Cardinals 1.
Last year, over 10 million Americans drove over to Firestone for expert car care service.
America's driving to Firestone.
Firestone's trained master care mechanics using state-of-the-art Mastermind computers did over 500,000 tune-ups last year. Now, get your tune-up only $34.95, warranted coast to coast.
Driving force is Firestone.
Tracks, Firestone's newest all-season radio, already 500,000 sold. Now on sale.
Firestone.
Some have it, some don't. Afrin doesn't have it. Dristan doesn't have it. Only Sinex has it for stuffy noses.
Ooh.
That quick feeling of relief from instantly penetrating Vicks vapors, plus a powerful decongestant that opens nasal passages so you breathe freely.
Ah, complete relief.
For hours and hours, Sinex has it for instant and complete relief in regular and 12-hour extra strength.
From Vicks, of course. He's a man with a plan.
Where are we going?
Shopping. She's about to become part of it.
I've got a 7:30 advanced karate class.
You're not going to make it. From the moment they meet,
Are you going to kill me or something?
trust me, the adventure begins. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Where did you learn how to do that?
Ray Dawn Chong.
I read the instructions.
Commando. Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
Hi, I'm Bob Costas, former utility infielder for the Toledo Mud Hens and pitching coach for the 1962 Mets. Hope you're enjoying NBC's exclusive coverage of the League Championship Series. And I'd like to invite you to join me and the rest of my crack staff, the Axe, Ahmad Rashad, and Larry King, for the first word in pro football, NFL 85, Sunday.
The old and the new in the far corner of the Dodger dugout, Sandy Koufax. And as he passed the baton to Fernando Valenzuela. Meanwhile, a legend in Cardinal history.
Seated with his lovely wife, Lil, Stan the Man. We talked about him leading the league 7 times, but how about slugging for a percentage of .702? That was 1948. That is really unbelievable.
Kenny Landreau takes a strike in the count 0-1. Down through the years. What magnificent battles between the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the forever St. Louis Cardinals. Boy, have they put on show. Fouled away. In fact, one year, you want to talk about a tough year. In 1942, the Brooklyn Dodgers won 104 games. The St. Louis Cardinals won 106 and went into the World Series.
So that's Billy Southworth's team. Terry Moore, yeah.
And look at how even they are, just about from the first time they ever met. There's a lot of fanfare, but this is one of the truly great rivalries, the Dodgers-Cardinals. And that slice to left center field. Here comes McGee. Can't get it. Coleman going over to back up. Landreau holding with a double. And he has gone that way consecutive at-bats in the 3rd inning to drive in a run. And now here in the 5th.
McGee gives it a good effort. Looks like he might make the play, and he just doesn't quite get to it. And Vince Coleman hustling all the way. Even though it does go for the 2-base hit, I'd venture to say most ball clubs that's a 3-base hit.
Well, not only that, I was thinking Landreau hit 2 home runs in one game against the Cardinals this year. One of the home runs was inside the park, but it was on turf. The bunt by Madlock is on the chalk and goes foul. Madlock followed by Guerrero. Bill Campbell gets up in the Cardinal bullpen. When the Dodgers and the Cardinals go to St. Louis, the pitchers on Saturday will be Bob Welch with a record of 14-4 and Danny Cox with a record of 18-9. Now, you never hear anything about Danny Cox, but how about this? His 18 victories would have led 15 teams in the major leagues this year. Well, Danny will be on the hill for the Birds Saturday. Good, hard breaking ball. Matlock fooled, 0-2.
He was just trying to punch that ball to the right side to pick up that base with an out. Surprised he even chased it.
So first he tried to bunt, then he tried to go with the breaking ball, and the count 0-2. And this time he lifts one to shallow left center. Landreau will not tag. McGee for the catch, and there's no further play. One away. So for Madlock, he's no doubt a little annoyed that he was not at least able to move his man over. And here comes Guerrero. Pedro Guerrero, and you were talking about the slugging percentage of Stan Musial. They're going to take the bat out of Pete's hands and walk him again. So it gives us a chance to tell you he was the first Dodger to lead the National League in slugging percentage since another great name in the Dodger history book, Duke Snider, back in '56. So when these two get together, you're talking about some great players, present and past.
And Vin, you were in Brooklyn broadcasting. The name itself, Stan the Man. I was on the club. I remember those fans in Ebbets Field. When Musial would come up to take batting practice, he'd get an ovation from him. And then he'd have those tremendous days. I remember a 5-for-5 day he had there, and that's when they enabled him Stan the Man.
Worthy indeed to have a statue erected in front of Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
I bet that statue would hit 280.
Probably. Well, with Guerrero slowly going to first, Landreau at second and one out. Mike Marshall, who struck out in the second and flied to right in the third. With one out, Marshall is probably the toughest of the Dodgers as far as grounding into double play. He's only hit into 8. Basically, it's hit or miss for Mike, and when he hits, it's usually in the air. And there it's in the air. Base hit to left. Here comes Landreau. Here comes Coleman's throw, and it's a poor throw, and that allows Marshall to go to second with Guerrero at third. 6-1 Dodgers.
You can say he had a chance to get his man at the plate, and he just throws it over everybody's head. Inexperience. He had plenty of time to get the play at the plate, and you can see Endahar making the catch on the fly. And here comes Whitey now. He's going to have to make a pitching change.
And, you know, in the excitement of a league championship series, as Phil Campbell will be brought in, you got to remember that the youngster in left field, Vince Coleman, is just that, a youngster. And it is 6-1, and Whitey Herzog is getting older by the minute.
Vladimir! Where is Comrade Petrenko?
What is commotion?
This beer Petrenko buys for embassy.
Meisterbrow, expensive capitalist beer.
Yet, our operatives tell me is not expensive. Only tastes expensive.
Then what he's doing with money he says he spends on beer?
I want to buy big American automobile. We fail things.
Rich, smooth Meisterbrow. It only tastes expensive.
And you wonder just how long Whitey will go with that.
Well, you have to repeat. You know, he goes a long way with his players. They got him here. But you have to wonder, what are his options? And he's going to have to make that tough decision. Borsch's last time out pitched pretty well.
With first base open because of that overthrow by Vince Coleman, which is really a killer, Whitey Herzog has to bring in a left-hand pitcher to walk a left-hand hitter intentionally and then get another left-hand hitter, Brock.
One thing the Cardinals have done very well all year on defense is to keep the double play in order, and they have not done that, and the Dodgers are taking advantage of everything. The Dodgers are playing wide open. They really are.
We mentioned earlier that Brock had hit home runs against everybody but the Cardinals and the Giants. And, of course, now you can scratch Cardinals. Brock this year has hit 2 grand slams. He hit a slam against Al Holland at Pittsburgh and a slam against Steve Shields at Atlanta. The Dodgers hit 6. 0-1. Line drive at Horton. He goes to Pendleton, and they double up Guerrero. And they're out of the inning on a line drive double play. And at the end of 5, the Dodgers 6 and the Cardinals 1. And Brock mutters about the line drive, good for 2 outs.
Last year, over 10 million Americans drove over to Firestone for expert car care service.
America's driving to Firestone.
Firestone's trained master care mechanics using state-of-the-art mastermind computers did over 500,000 tune-ups last year. Now, get your tune-up only $34.95, warranted coast to coast.
Driving force is Firestone.
Tracks, Firestone's newest all-season radio, already 500,000 sold. Now on sale.
Firestone.
Just about any personal computer does a better day's work with the help of an IBM Pro Printer. The Pro Printer produces high-speed drafts and clear graphics. It prints with near letter quality and turns out single sheets and envelopes without removing the computer paper. Best of all, the Pro Printer costs less than $550. For a better day's work, get the Pro Printer from IBM for the finishing touch.
When you're 100% pure beef.
The beef goes on.
When you're sear sizzled, lean and juicy.
McDonald's beef goes on.
Your great beef taste goes on and on.
You're all beef, your beef lean and hot. So your big beef taste just won't stop. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. The beef goes on.
Coming this November, Academy Award winner George C. Scott gives an incredible performance as one of history's most fascinating men in Mussolini, The Untold Story.
A New York boy, 26-year-old Ricky Horton, born in Poughkeepsie and lives in Hyde Park. Watch him come of age in a tough spot.
He was checking the runner at third, determined he fires, and I watched the reaction not only of him, but look at Porter. Porter jumps up and says, hey, he's got it now, let's get a double play. And it was an easy double play once he made that fine play. Keep in mind that when a line drive is hit back to you, you start off 60 feet, 6 inches. With your follow-through, you're about 55 feet from home plate.
Once again, we'd like to remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Light Beer from Miller Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. It is far from over. A lot of baseball left. We're just going to the 6th inning. And you have Jack Clark, Andy Van Slyke, and then Terry Pendleton. For Andujar, he went 4 1/3 innings, allowed 6 earned runs, 8 hits, 2 walks, and he had a half a dozen strikeouts. That was not an intimidating pitch. It wasn't even a good fastball. 1 ball and no strike.
Tells you something about Andujar, too. He's still on the bench, Rudy.
On the hands, ball 2, 2-0. Andujar had beaten the Dodgers twice this year without a loss.
Most pitchers would be in the clubhouse watching it and listening to it. He wants to see it. He's a battler.
And now Hershiser is 3-0, and Socha asking for time. The only time Hershiser retired the side in order was in the top of the 5th.
There's no strategy going on here. Mike is very simply saying, hey, look at the scoreboard. It's 6-1. You keep throwing it up there, and you're going to get the water hot and cold, and you're going to take a shower. So throw me some strikes. He's just breaking a mood.
He has walked as many as 6 in a game and gotten away with it. He's walked 3 so far tonight. 3 balls and no strikes to Clark. Right. Clark is also looking for his first hit against Hershiser. He is 0 for 10 this year. Looks like he's going to get it. Clean single to center for Jack Clark, leading off matters in the 6th inning. Now the batter will be Andy Van Slyke.
Andy Van Slyke. Brock wanting to know if he should play halfway or what, and they're going to play behind him.
Jack Clark, in case you wonder, having seen that move, has stolen 1 base, and more importantly, has been thrown out 4 times. Well, you can understand, besides the left-hand hitter, why Brock is off the bag. Van Slyke out on a good play by Marshall in the 2nd inning, walked in the 3rd, ball 1. Ken Howell, the right-hander, and Rick Honeycutt, the left-hander, get up in the Dodger bullpen. because Hershiser has made a lot of pitches tonight and has never really given you the feeling that he is in complete command at all. Strike, 1-1.
In talking to the Dodger coaching staff, they don't, and Lasorda himself says, I don't worry too much about the pitches. It's how he pitches. He's made 85 pitches. If he gets the ball up, or they start hitting a lot of fly balls, that's when I worry.
He's completed 9 games this year. And there's a drive to right, but Marshall got a good jump. I don't think he gets that jump, and now he's going to try for the double play, but couldn't do it. It's been hard to pick that ball up back in the first 2 innings. But now that it is dark, it is almost 7:45 here. He was on the move immediately. 1 out, Terry Pendleton, the batter. We talked about it, Joe and I, all during the season, about a stat that could very well come into meaning. It's called quality starts. It only applies to starting pitchers, but it tells you more than complete games or wins and losses, because so many things get into wins and losses. What a quality start simply means is your starting pitcher goes 6 innings or more and allows 3 runs or less. So what he's really doing is your starting pitcher is keeping you in the game. Well, when you check starting pitchers, there's one, Fernando Valenzuela. He's very high in quality starts. Dwight Gooden is best in the league in quality starts. And then you get to Hershiser and Andujar to follow the point. In quality starts, Hershiser has 25 of the 34 starts that he has made. Andujar, however, even though he won 21 games, had only 22 quality starts in 38 starts. So that's a pretty good indicative start that should very well be applied to baseball. Quality starts. John Tudor had 27 out of 36.
Complete game is about like dirt. It's become obsolete.
Sure. And all Andujar can do, like so many others, sit and think of what might have been. Ball 1. Pendleton was a little late in reacting, and Socha was hoping to use him as a screen to try and even make a bluff at Clark. Boy, Pendleton just did get out of the way. 1-2. Squirted off the end of the bat. Madlock will have to go to first, and down to second base goes Clark. That thing looked like it came out of the end of a hose. Little ground ball to third.
Looked like the big breaking ball. It was out of the strike zone, and Pendleton hit it right on the end of the bat. She just snaked her way down there. That's always a tough play for an infielder.
Now the batter is Darrell Porter. Walked in the second inning, grounded out in the fourth. He is 1 for 4 for the year against Hershiser. Remember, he was on the DL twice. And Porter will be followed by Ozzie Smith, who hits Hershiser very well. So this is a key at bat with 2 out. Porter trying to extend the inning. Ozzie has 5 hits in 10 at bats against Hershiser this year. So Porter somehow has to extend the inning. Too much on that. It might have been, well, I don't know if it was a bad curveball or a split-fingered fastball, but it didn't have a thing on it. He's lucky it was out of the strike zone.
It was a bad curveball following another bad curveball. He's really not snapped it off.
2 balls and no strikes. And now he's behind 3-0. Well, the Cardinals could very well get back in the ball game if Porter can extend it and Ozzie Smith comes up. 3-0 to Darrell. They let him swing 3-0 in the second inning. You see what they do this time. Taken all the way.
I'll tell you, partner, if he'd have swung at that 6-1.
6-1, a lot of trouble.
I'd have gone up and filed a grievance.
There have been some strange things going on.
Tell me about.
You know, earlier this year I got to call in Dodger Stadium the Enchanted Castle, and it's been a little bit that way these 2 nights. Ground foul, 3-2.
Man, the Ghostbusters have been out.
It gets closer and closer to Disneyland every day, I think. 3-2 to Darrell Porter. 2 down, Clark at second. We're in the top of the 6th. The Dodgers 6, the Cardinals 1. big time of the game to get it. So the Cardinals leave Clark at second, and at the end of 5.5, Dodgers 6, Cardinals 1.
Ever since man invented machines to move people, he has sought new ways to defeat the wind's resistance. And now there's a totally new aerodynamic design for this age. Ford brings you the age of Aerostar. Aerostar. Take it to the school. Take it to the campsite. Take it to the movies. Take it to the lumberyard. Or take it to the max. Yes, anywhere you take it, Aerostar proves its versatility.
Aerostar.
Ford Aerostar.
Whenever the moon was full, it was out there.
What was that?
Hiding in the fog, watching, and waiting to strike again. And again. Now, from the master of mystery and suspense comes Stephen King's Silver Bullet, rated R. Starts Friday, October 11th at a theater near you.
Warm moments on a cold winter night. Good conversation, easy and light. And how about something for your appetite? Let our gentle flame cook up something right. Warm moments, warm moments. Nothing warms you like gas.
Warm is what natural gas is all about. Clean, efficient. In fact, America's best energy value. Shouldn't it be in your home?
Nothing warms you like gas.
This fall, NBC Sports has a November to remember when the starting gate snaps open, hoofs thunder, and hearts pound at the Breeders' Cup. 7 championship races, the richest event in the sport of kings. Live from New York, America's Day at the Races, the Breeders' Cup. A November to remember on NBC.
Here are some nicknames that never made it. Eggs Benedict, Bigfoot, Caribbean Cruise, Big Bird, Babaloo, Wooden Nickels, Polar Bear, and the classic Joe Torre, Chicken Catcher Torre. Yes. No, I don't have time. Bottom of the 6th inning, 6-1 Dodgers.
Oh, the courage.
Sachs, Hershiser, and Duncan. And the bunt down to get it is Horton. And got him on a great play by Clark. Oh, what a play by Clark. I don't know how he could have picked that ball right off Sachs' head. And the Dodgers are going to argue.
Well, sort of really charging across there for him. Let's watch it again. Horton makes a good play.
Look at Clark. He looked like he took it out of his ear like a magician.
McSherry and Lasorda arguing. And I'm telling you, that's a group.
Yeah, that's a full-size picture.
Oh, that throw is. Where'd he tag him? I couldn't tell. Did you?
No, I was just too busy trying to figure out how he caught the ball. In fact, I'm kind of glad he caught the ball. It looked like it was heading for Sachs' ear. And here's Hershiser with 1 out. And he hits a ground ball breaking his bat, and Tommy Herr will take care of him. I really marveled at that play by Jack Clark. Watch this. It's right into him. And, of course, the Dodgers, I think, are going to claim, among other things, he came off the bag, huh?
Yeah, and that Sachs was past him when he caught the ball, so how could he tag him? I mean, I think that's what they were claiming.
Yeah.
That was a good play.
Boy,
he made it look pretty easy.
2 down, and Mariano Duncan taking some time to let Hershiser get back into the dugout. Mariano was grounded to third, flied to center, struck out. And looking for his first hit in the League Championship Series. Now hitting right-handed. And as we have always felt, when talking about a switch hitter, especially if there's a big difference, it should be pointed out. He is a totally different hitter from this side of the plate. Line drive down the right field line to illustrate the point. And he's going to go to second because he's got a bad leg and a bad foot. That's an easy triple for him prior to tonight. And they're going to check Charlie Strasser and Tommy Lasorda going out to make sure he can keep playing.
He really pulled up lame as he got near second base.
We were saying he's such a different hitter. Would you believe over 60 points different? He's a .290 hitter as a right-handed batter. Now leading by 5 in the bottom of the 6th inning with 2 out, I think it's going to be up to Duncan. They have Dave Anderson to back up at short.
He's a little gingerly going around first base. You can see that. Now he thinks he's got another base, and then he pulls up lame right there.
That's that knee, I think, that was spiked, remember, in the first inning? And he evidently will come out. He was spiked by Vince Coleman on the left knee. Then he fouled the ball off his foot.
He's got some pads in there to protect him when he slides. I think it's a factor, but it's been a tough night for him.
You wonder about the fates. Here's a kid in his first league championship series, finally gets a hit and has to come out. So Dave Anderson will run for him and then stay in the game at shortstop.
Your attention, please. For the Dodgers, running for Duncan, number 10.
So Mariano Duncan is through for the night. The Dodgers hoping to console themselves, I'm sure, with the thought that off tomorrow he would be all right on Saturday. He means a great deal to them. And Kenny Landreau coming up. Bob Welch and Danny Cox on Saturday at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Birds, and it should be pointed out, they have the best record at home of anybody in the league. So the Dodgers could very well be more than walking into an aviary when they go to Busch Stadium. It could be a lion's den. Landreau has struck out and doubled to left and left center. Both times, however, he was hitting against Andujar. Now he's making a rare at-bat against a left-hander.
And they're shading him towards the left field line. He's got a lot of room in right center field against the left-hander.
There's a 5-run difference in the game, and there's a pretty good reason. The Dodgers are 3 for 6 in hitting with runners in scoring position. The Cardinals are 0 for 5.
The thing that's hurt the Cardinals tonight will never show up in the box score.
1-1. That bad pickoff of Sack seemed to be the beginning of the end. That was the leak in the balloon for Andujar.
And Hershiser in the wild pitch, and then the overthrow the cutoff man, and overthrowing the catcher.
2-1. So after getting those big sweepers, good pitch by Horton. He decides to come inside. 3-1 to count to Kenny Landreau.
Here's the pitch. Landreau's a pretty good piece from the plate. Wasn't that close. He went down after it was past him anyhow.
3-1.
I don't blame him. It's a little different than batter's box.
Now back to the breaking ball again. 3-2 the count to Kenny Landreau. Bill Madlock on deck. 2 out, bottom of the 6th inning. Dodgers 6, Cardinals 1. Madlock is 1 for 3, and his base hit was good for a run batted in. Horton off the right. So he has walked Landreau, and that's really got to frost Whitey Herzog. To walk the left-hand hitter, and now you get Bill Madlock, and it has frosted Whitey enough to bring him out of the dugout and make a change. Bill Campbell has been down there in the bullpen, and he'll be coming in. 6-1 Dodgers, 2 out and 2 on, bottom of the 6th.
Sure, trailing suspects in back streets and dark alleys is dangerous work, but it's worth it. Because after cracking a tough case, I open one of these, a light beer from Miller. After tracking down hot leads all day, a cold, light, sure tastes great. And life less filling, too, with a third less calories than their regular beer. And you can't afford to get filled up in this line of work.
Rossini.
Good news, lady. Found your dog.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer. And less.
There's something special on the horizon. American Airlines Ultimate Super Savers. Incredible low fares to over 90 cities throughout the continental U.S. and Canada. Discounts up to 70%. Fares from $44 to $151. Call American Airlines for an Ultimate Super Saver before another day passes you by.
We're American Airlines, something special in the air.
Have you driven a Ford?
Ford dealers present 8.8 Plus. 8.8 annual percentage rate financing on 86 and 85 Tempo and Escort, both when equipped with manual transmissions, plus tough new 86 Rangers and sporty 86 Bronco 2s. Plus, a special lease offer on all 86 and 85 Ford cars and light trucks. 1986 is off to a great start with 8.8 Plus at Ford dealers now.
The following message is furnished by Major League Baseball in cooperation with the Players Association.
As a ball player, I make plenty of decisions every game, but the best decision I ever made affected my entire life. I decided to give up drugs, and for me, it was a life-saving choice. As a young person, you make decisions every day. Don't let drugs ruin your future. Make the right choice. Say no to drugs. Baseball cares about you and your family.
Bill Campbell was 0-1 against the Dodgers this year. He was in 3 games and worked 4 innings against him. And he will now go head-to-head with Bill Madlock with 2 on and 2 out in the 6th. 6-1 Dodgers. Ground foul. You know, the history books, and now that the League Championship Series is a best 4 out of 7, it's just like the World Series. In World Series history, no team that lost their first 2 games at home ever came back to win. But a lot of teams have lost the first 2 games on the road and come back to win, including the Brooklyn Dodgers of 55. So the Cardinals can take heart from the history books that even should they lose this second game, this is a 4 out of 7. And you're not blown out of the water. If it was 3 out of 5 and you're down 2-0, you're up to your neck in alligators.
I was going to say, man, the lifeboats.
1-1. Line to center, sinking base hit. McGee is going to come after the plate. Here comes Anderson to score. 7-1 Dodgers. The key, of course, was the left-hander Horton walking Landro. And the Dodgers now are 4 for 7 in hitting with runners in scoring position. Madlock hit almost .390 for the Dodgers with runners in scoring position this year. And all Whitey Herzog can do about now is wish he had a lot of things back that occurred tonight. So Glad Dog, as they call him, gives the Dodgers a 7-1 lead. And the batter is Guerrero. Landro at second. The run, of course, is charged to Horton, as Anderson brought it in, running for Duncan. Guerrero walked twice intentionally, struck out in the second inning. Hershiser finds himself sitting on top of a big cushion, a 6-run lead when he goes to work in the 7th inning, starting off with Ozzie Smith. Fastball hit into left field, base hit. Here comes Landro to score. 8-1 Dodgers. Everything they have done is they have come up smelling like a rose. They have now hit with runners in scoring position in 5 of the 8 opportunities. And here's Marshall. breaking ball. Interesting thing, too, about Guerrero. Bad wrist and all. Pedro had only 6 RBIs from September the 7th to the championship series. And he's picked up 2 in 2 games. Foul ball, 0-2.
In this game, the Dodgers have taken advantage of every situation. They've made some breaks, and whatever was there, they took. They have not left anything for the Dogs.
Lasorda leading 8-1 now. 8 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 6 hits for the Cardinals. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Check swing. They're going to look at first. Swing, said John McSherry.
Mike Marshall can't believe it. He's still at home plate.
It's a 2-run inning. It's 8-1 Dodgers at the end of 6. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Imagine a show somewhere between Knight Rider and Miami Vice. Misfits of Science. Right where it fits, starting October 18th.
Living and working in Austin can be a dream come true, a chance to build a prosperous future for ourselves and our families. But growth has its problems, too. Problems we face every day. There's a lot to be said about Austin's growth, and a lot that needs to be said. I'm Bob Holland. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 on News 36. Tanya Cook and I will look into Austin's progress and its problems.
Growing with Austin, a special feature only on News 36, Tuesday and Thursday at 10.
Do you know me? This may seem puzzling, but you know me by sight and by sound. You know my TVs, my stereos. But to be really wired in, I carry the American Express card. As a chairman of Sony, I expect great reception.
To apply for the card, look for an application and take one.
The American Express card, don't leave home without it.
When you're building something yourself, quality is very important. Cedar Wholesale Supply has genuine western red cedar and beautiful redwood, the highest quality lumber to furnish all of your needs for fencing, decking, siding, or any other of your endeavors. The folks at Cedar Wholesale Supply can help you figure out what you need, and they offer it at reasonable prices. This week's special is 1x6 select California redwood fence boards for only $1.39. Visit Cedar Wholesale Supply, 4005 Warehouse Row, and start that project you've been planning. Dallas, weekdays at 3 on 36.
Remember, after the game, stay tuned following local news, time permitting, for The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, and Late Night with David Letterman, except on the West Coast and most Mountain Time Zone stations, where they'll be seen at their regular time. Night has descended upon Los Angeles. Gloom, I'm sure, has descended upon the city of St. Louis, but it's not over yet. Not the game nor the League Championship Series. We'll be in St. Louis for Saturday's game, the matchup again, Bob Welch and Danny Cox. Dave Anderson is at shortstop, having run for Mariano Duncan. It'll be Ozzie Smith, Steve Braun, and then Vince Coleman. Ball 1. Ozzie 2 for 2 tonight. He is 5 for 10 against Hershiser. With Braun on deck, Jeff Lottie has been throwing in the Cardinal pen. Ground ball to Brock. He'll do it himself. The only Cardinal run in the 3rd inning.
Batting for Campbell.
After Coleman had grounded out, Willie McGee single to left. Tommy Herr walked. And a wild pitch by Hershiser scored McGee from second base. So the attack has not been there, and now one of the more successful pinch hitters, Steve Braun, coming up. This year he passed Red Schoendienst as the all-time Cardinal pinch hitter, but not this time. So 2 ground balls to Greg Brock. And the batter will be Vince Coleman.
Left fielder, Vince Coleman.
Hershiser, of course, with a 7-run lead. He's not trying to be fancy now.
No way. Just throw strikes because the base on balls is what you want to stay away from. As you look back, Vin, that first inning when Coleman singled and was thrown out, Steely McGee safe on an air and then caught in that rundown, it was almost like, hey, we have to figure out a different way to do it.
We've got something important, so let's go to New York for a news update.
Good evening. I'm Tom Brokaw in New York. There has been a dramatic development in the hijacking of the Achille Laurel. The 4 hijackers thought that they were leaving Egypt tonight in an Egyptian airliner, but that plane was intercepted by American fighter jets over the Mediterranean, and it was escorted to a NATO base in Italy. And that's where the hijackers are at this hour. At the White House now, press spokesman for President Reagan, Larry Speaks, is describing the situation.
Terrorists will be subject to full due process of law. For our part, we intend to pursue prompt extradition to the United States of those involved in the crime. This action affirms our determination to see that terrorists are apprehended, prosecuted, and punished. This episode also reflects our close cooperation with an ally and close friend, Italy, in combating international terrorism. The American government and the people are grateful to Prime Minister Craxi, his government, and the Italian people for their help. We are also grateful to the government of Tunisia for its refusal to permit the aircraft transporting the terrorists to land in Tunis. Finally, we must at this point note our gratitude to the government of Egypt for its efforts to end this dangerous crisis without additional loss of life. We strongly disagreed with the government of Egypt, however, on disposition of the terrorist. From the onset, the United States government made it clear to all the governments involved our firm opposition to negotiations with terrorists or concessions to them. We also made it clear our expectation that the terrorist would be brought to justice. We were therefore deeply distressed to learn that those responsible for the death of Leon Klinghoffer might be permitted to go free. We said yesterday that we were determined to see that justice was done and that we would use every appropriate means to that end. The decision on ending the hijacking was an independent one by the government of Egypt. When we were consulted, we advised strongly against any arrangements which would permit the terrorists to escape justice. Since the time the terrorists were taken off the ship, we have continued intensive efforts, intensive contacts with the government of Egypt to pursue that point. The United States wants to emphasize the fundamental and durable interest that the United States and Egypt share, interests which transcend this difficult incident. These have been trying times for both our governments. We will do all we can to ensure that basic U.S.-Egyptian relationship in which both our countries have taken so much pride for so long remains unaffected. In closing, the President wants to emphasize that once again, the international scourge of terrorism can only be stamped out if each member of the community of civilized nations meets its responsibility squarely, passing up no opportunity to apprehend, prosecute, and punish terrorists wherever they may be found. We cannot tolerate terrorism in any form. We will continue to take every appropriate measure available to us to deal with these dastardly deeds. There can be no asylum for terrorism or for terrorists. That's the end of the statement. We will distribute copies after the briefing. One announcement: Secretary Weinberger will be briefing at the Defense Department between 12 and 12:30 this morning for television, radio, continuing contact. Let me say from the outset, I will be here to answer all of your questions. If you'll take your time, I'll be here.
Larry Speaks at the White House tonight as he completes a statement directed by President Reagan describing the events of the day. He is just saying that the 4 hijackers are now in Italian custody at a NATO military base on Sicily. Here's what happened briefly. This evening, Egyptian time, under the cover of darkness, an Egyptian airliner left that country with the 4 hijackers aboard. Then a fleet, we don't know how many precisely, 3, perhaps 4 F-14s from the American carrier, the USS Saratoga, took off and intercepted the plane. They then forced it to fly to that military base in Sicily. At the time that they were in the air, President Reagan was on the telephone to the Prime Minister Craxi of Italy, asking for authorization to land there, and of course it was immediately granted. Earlier today, President Mubarak of Egypt had said that the hijackers had left his country, but apparently they had not. And as you saw, there was a delicate diplomatic situation at the White House tonight, as Larry Speakes tried to condemn Egypt, but at the same time saying that the United States and Egypt have fundamental and durable interests, because, of course, Egypt is an important American military ally in the Middle East. But at any rate, tonight, the 4 hijackers are now in custody. They're in Italian hands. They have been flown there under the direction of American fighter escorts from an Egyptian airliner that was in the air, apparently headed for Tunisia at the time that it was intercepted. And of course, all the remaining American hostages are now off the Achille Lauro. They're at a hotel in Cairo tonight. They've had a meal, and they're now able to get some sleep. They did describe what happened to Leon Klinghoffer. Many of them were taken up to the deck of the ship. He was left behind, and when they returned, they said he was no longer around. So those are the latest details on one of the most dramatic stories that we've seen in some time out of Washington, D.C. The United States taking bold and dramatic military action tonight to intercept terrorists and return them to an American and Italian military base under the auspice of NATO on Sicily. And so the United States has finally won one against the terrorists. We'll be back later this evening after your local news program with a complete NBC News special report on all of these fascinating events. But now let's go back to Dodger Stadium, Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola.
Thank you, Tom. And of course, the importance and seriousness of that announcement makes this ball game in proper perspective about the size of a grain of sand. Just, however, to get your mind off what has been going on and is going on in the Middle East, we can conclude the story. Vince Coleman grounded out in the top of the 7th inning. In the bottom of the 7th inning, Mike Scioscia fouled out to left. Greg Brock has just flied to center. Left-hander Ken Daly is now pitching for St. Louis. It is 8-1 Dodgers, 2 out in the 7th inning. And Steve Sax single struck out and hit back to the box in the 6th inning. Check swing, and they'll look at McSherry, no swing, says John, and he gets a cheer. You remember how the crowd reacted when he called Marshall out in the 6th.
Then I'd just like to add in the recap that one of the pitches Daly threw to Scioscia really flipped him, so it's the second knockdown that we've had, and that might mean something. It was about a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and Mike didn't waste any time getting out of there, and I don't blame him.
1 ball and no strikes, the count is Steve Sax. 8-1 Dodgers, 2 out, bottom of the 7th. High fly ball into left center. McGee, however, has that one on his radar screen, and that's that. The Dodgers are out in order. It's the first time that's happened since the 2nd inning. And at the end of 7, 8-1 Dodgers.
Champion rock climber Ron Kauff knows the thrills and the difficulties of conquering rugged mountains. That's why he likes a Ford Bronco 2. He knows that Bronco 2 has the built-in toughness to take it and the power to make it, now with the most powerful engine in its class. And this year, Bronco 2 breaks through with new electric touch drive. You just touch a button, and the Bronco 2 shifts from 2-wheel to ground-grabbing 4-wheel drive, no matter what your speed. No wonder Ford Bronco 2 makes it to the top.
Now, get 8.8 financing on 86 Ford Bronco 2.
Coldwell Banker is America's largest full-service real estate company. And these days, you don't get bigger unless you do it better. Coldwell Banker, the home sellers, a member of the Sears Financial Network.
You know, I don't like being disappointed. Why, one time we lost a big game and I felt so bad, I sawed my car in half. That's why they call me Hacksaw. But now I take it easy and I drink light beer from Miller. Light has 1/3 less calories than the regular beer, and it's less filling. And the taste never lets me down. Hey, how about another light beer?
Sorry, Hacksaw, we just ran out.
Boy, that's very disappointing.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Monday, Valerie Bertinelli is the witness to a shocking crime and must choose between protecting her family and telling the truth. Silent Witness, Monday.
The Dodgers are leading 8-1, and I'd like to play catcher, okay? This is my mitt.
Right.
This is my hand.
Right.
And I'm going to go down and give a sign with it. But instead of doing this and this and this, I'm going to go, what am I doing?
You're saying to the pitcher, flipping, moving back.
Question I want to know. Sachs was almost buried 0-2 by Andujar.
Yes.
We didn't see it as far as the nation is concerned, but Daly had a pretty good shot 0-2 against Mike Scioscia. They're more than purpose pitches when you're trailing 8-1. Maybe Whitey's trying to wake up his own club.
Well, I think he's trying to do that. He's also trying to send a message to the Dodgers saying, hey, we might be 2 down if you win this game, but we're not laying over and playing dead and falling asleep.
Did I do it right?
Yes, you did.
Thumb popped out of the fist?
They're perfect.
Okay.
You'd be a good knockdown catcher. You'd get knocked down a little bit yourself doing that.
If they could catch me.
They'd catch you.
He'd catch me. Willie, aboard on an error, singled and grounded out. Fouled away to count 1-1. Here's the pitch that you did not see because of the importance of the news story out of Washington. But watch this. He and Sachs really got it close. Landreau was just an inside pitch. As I sit safely up here looking down.
No, you were accurate. Landreau was, it just happened to be in the neighborhood, and he was going to make sure he got out of there. But Sachs and Scioscia, you can bet that was an overnight delivery. I mean, the message got there.
Interesting, in the 2 games up to this moment, Coleman and McGee have 2 hits in 15 at-bats. So the Dodgers have been able to keep them off the base paths for now. Backhanded by Madlock. Got him.
Madlock has been a different ball player since he left the Pittsburgh Pirates, I'll tell you that. Not only his hitting, his base running, his fielding, that is really a major league play. And he gets a tough man, McGee.
You know what's really, well, look at it again, but I'll tell you something that I think is really incredible.
That ball's by him and he gets it.
You know, you're throwing out the league's leading hitter, right? The best switch hitter for one season in the history of the National League. Madlock making a brilliant play to get him. But here's the thing that's interesting. Willie McGee has had 59 at-bats against the Dodgers this year. And he's the league's leading hitter. They haven't walked him once. In 59 at-bats. You'd think somewhere along the line they'd say, well, we better be careful. They've been pitching right at him.
Last night, Fernando just went right at him and then really neutralized him with the breaking ball. Remember, he struck him out on that screwball way out of the strike zone.
He's hitting about 275 against the Dodgers, maybe even less than that now. That's about 75 points below his average against the league. So you can understand why Willie was quoted as saying, the toughest pitches for me are all the Dodgers starters. They have really done a number on him.
He uses the word consistency. He said they are consistent.
So we have 1 out in the 8th inning, but let's face it, it took a good play by Madlock to deprive him of a base hit. Tommy Hurd doubled, walked, grounded out. And he fists one over third, slicing down the line, foul. Anderson in pursuit. By the way, we get a report on Mariano Duncan, and if you've been with us since the start of the game, it comes as no surprise. He has a bruised right ankle from the foul ball, and it's an abrasion. Actually, he was spiked on the left knee. And Duncan doubled in the 6th inning and would have been an easy triple for him otherwise, and they opted to take him out. So he'll have the last 3 innings tonight and all of Friday to heal. Here's Tommy Hurd with the count 2-2. Fouled away. That reminds me of a line I read somewhere. That when you go to heaven, God doesn't check you for medals, for honors, or degrees. He looks for scars. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Tommy Hurd. Jack Clark on deck. We'll see you good folks in St. Louis on Saturday with that 414 feet away center field fence. 1 hopper right at Sachs. 2 down. Friends, this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. And I doubt they will get any letters requesting it with a Missouri postmark.
Well, both series will go back to Missouri, Kansas City and Toronto, and Kansas City, and of course the Cardinals and Dodgers. So that I-70 World Series will have to start heat up, that fever that they were talking about.
Another thing to point out now, late in the game about Hershiser, he is now doing what he normally does at the outset of a good game. He is starting to get ground balls. Of the last 6 outs, he's gotten 5 ground balls and a strikeout. The strikeout was Porter. Ball 1. Jack Clark has struck out, grounded out, singled when he got that base hit in the 6th inning. It made him 1 for 11 against Hershiser this year. 2-0.
Oddly enough, it's the base on balls that really made him stagger and bounce around on that mound. That base on balls is just no defense.
2-0. Ground foul outside of third. Hal Lanier to handle it. Hal Lanier chip off the old block and out of the Cardinal book, huh?
Oh, yeah. His dad was a great left-hand pitcher with the Cardinals and with the Giants. In fact, he was visiting in St. Louis when we got there for that Cubs series. Max went back.
2-1. The count to Jack Clark. Ball 3. It is 8-1 Dodgers, top of the 8th inning with 2 out. Tough night for Whitey Herzog on the right and his red Shandeans. Breaking ball away, and that put Jack Clark aboard with the walk. 4th walk given up by Oral Hershiser.
Right fielder.
So he's pretty much balancing his books. 4 strikeouts, 4 walks. And with 2 out, Andy Van Slyke. Andy, in the 2nd inning, took Hershiser deep to right. That's when Marshall made the big league outfielders play. Did a 360, turned his back on the ball, and then somehow picked it up at twilight time when it was so tough to see, and made the catch. Ground ball to Brock. So they will leave Jack Clark at first. And at the end, it's 7.5. Dodgers 8, Cardinals 1.
One call from you sets Domino's Pizza in motion.
One call does it all, that's that.
From that moment on, we do everything to make sure your hot, delicious custom-made pizza is delivered to your door in less than 30 minutes.
Does it all.
Domino's Pizza delivers.
Right where you want it to be. Domino's Pizza delivers. One call does it all.
Who has expanded your TV picture by adding 4 new corners? It's RCA. Introducing RCA's picture window TVs. Sleek, slender screens with full corner-to-corner picture. They're all picture. All RCA ingenuity. And as pretty off as on. The new picture window TVs in new larger screen sizes from RCA. Technology that excites the senses.
You're Melanie Sherwood, the famous actress.
I loved your last picture, Miss Sherwood. You ought to win an award.
No, 76 Gasoline should win the award.
For our gasoline?
For outstanding performance in the category of cleaning carburetors.
Well, it is good.
Good? It's superb, dear boy. It helped my car run smoother, idle better.
Well, I guess it should get an award.
And I accept. On behalf of 76 Gasoline, I'd like to thank everyone. Fill her up with spirit. My station attendant and all the little people.
The spirit of 76.
Bottom of the 8th inning, the Dodgers leading the Cardinals 8-1 due to the length of tonight's game. The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson will not be seen. But we would remind you to stay tuned following local news for an NBC News special report, Caught in the Sky, followed by Late Night with David Letterman. Now on the West Coast, the Cosby Show follows immediately after baseball, then the NBC News special report and David Letterman starting at 11:30. Jeff Lottie if nothing else, and you might say, why in the world would Lottie be brought in an 8-1 game? Herzog has to get his men sharp. You have to make the most out of a bad game. And Jeff Lottie has had a big year. In fact, he is one of the chairman of the board of that committee that they have. Lottie with 19 saves. So with tomorrow being an off day, they don't want him to just rust. And Jeff is in there. Last night, they used Daly, Campbell, and Worrell. Tonight, Horton, Campbell, Daly, and now Lottie.
In getting into a pressure game, regardless of the score tonight, the league championship series, there's always extra involved, and getting them in that first one is always a big step, and that's another factor in getting Lottie in there.
1-2 the count to Jeff. And that takes care of Hershiser. So Hershiser strikes out, one away. And Dave Anderson, who came into the game for the injured Mariano Duncan. To repeat, Duncan bruised on the foot or ankle, also a cut knee where he was spiked. He came out. And a reminder, Game 3 of the American League Championship, the Blue Jays in Kansas City. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, with the Jays leading 2-0. Well, Missouri's the show-me state, so they're just about ready to show, huh?
Yep.
Ozzie gobbles it up and then throws, but Clark just does stay on the bag. Well, I tell you what, big league first basemen are marvelous at moving around the bag.
Hey, you had a guy in Brooklyn and Los Angeles for a while. It was the master, was that Gil Hodges. Gil would catch a ball in right field and they'd call him out.
And keep that straight face.
And somehow the umpire thought his foot was on the bag.
Clark really gave it a little walk in the country on that throw by Ozzie. 2 down, and here's Landreau. It is 8-1 Dodgers. To look ahead, the Cardinals will have Terry Pendleton, Darrell Porter, and Ozzie Smith. Landreau, in playing tonight, struck out in the first inning, but in the third inning, and we were pointing the fact they were holding Hershiser on. The first pitch by Andujar was a strike on the outside part of the plate, and we felt, okay, they're going to pitch him away. And they came right back away, and he doubled to left center field to drive in Hershiser. He also doubled in the 5th inning, and he walked. So Landreau's had a big night. He's 2 for 3. 8 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 6 hits for the Cardinals. Saturday, Bob Welch and Danny Cox. Ground ball up the middle. So Landreau comes up with his 3rd hit, plus a walk. And here comes Bill Madlock. Madlock had struck out in the first inning, singled to drive in Landreau in the 3rd, flied to center in the 5th, and then came in against Campbell and singled to drive in a run in the 6th. Madlock with 2 RBIs, hitting .375 in the series. With a 7-run lead. No pressure for the moment here in the 8th inning. Fouled away, 0-2. Remember, the Cardinals, and Whitey Herzog has to be thinking about it. We're going home. We might be going home down 2-0, but we're the best in the league at home. The Cardinal record at home, 54 victories and 27 losses. That's hit foul. So the Cardinals, who have won 2 of every 3 they have played, and there is Joaquin Andujar still there with the rest of the club. They will need to win 2 out of 3 to make it return to Los Angeles. Check swing foul.
I think in this particular situation, Vin, there will be a home field advantage because the friendly crowd, they'll be up trying to boost the ball club. Be getting thrills all summer long, home cooking and the rest that goes with it. So it'll be an interesting matchup, that first one.
The Dodgers had defeated the Cardinals 4 out of 6 times at Dodger Stadium this year. In the 6 games played at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, the Dodgers and Cardinals split the 6. And it doesn't mean anything in the league championship.
No, sir.
1-2. How well I can remember 1983. The Dodgers had beaten the Philadelphia Phillies like a rug 11 out of 12 times. And they met them in the league championship series. They went without leaving an oil slick. At the end of 4 games, they were history. Tough play for Lottie. He's got to get a high bounce. And he didn't get it. That's the difference playing on grass. If he's at home, that ball comes up to him quicker, and he'll get Madlock. But on grass, it's more like a poached egg. It just hit, and it didn't come back up high enough. And he had to go down and get it with 2 hands, and that took too much time, even for a fella who doesn't run that well.
The infielders even experiment with that. They'll take a ball at shoulder level, drop it. Here on grass, it'll go maybe halfway up your leg, but on artificial surface, it'll go past your belt.
Madlock will now give way to Bob Baylor, who will run for him and finish up at third base.